trying to raise the sense of urgency around climate change. You seem serious and committed to it.
I'm excited to bring.
What ups, Reflections? I am not a bigot. I am ready to save the planet by doing exactly what the big banks tell the TV screens to tell us to do. I feel so empowered on my #vegan journey. Join us as we chant empty slogans for #climate action written by PR firms. We need to save the earth and demand a global totalitarian technocratic government run by big finance and the Fortune 100. Our house is on fire and we need the nice grown-up government to take everyone's land and resources and ration us delicious, sustainable, nutrient-fortified vegan kibble. This is an emergency. Mommy Earth is crying so sad because she wants the mean grown-ups to give poor little 16-year-old human shield Greta her future back.
Do you have anything to add to these debates about just, in particular, the idea that it's kind of too expensive to deal with climate change?
I mean, it is, the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean,
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and was working alone. Veganism is desirable and fun and make me smile big happy on my insides. I do not hate children. I am not a science denier. I do like science. To fix the #climate crisis we need to sterilize ourselves, starve ourselves, eat babies and grandma and move to a social engineered #smart city to save the earth. There is no time to examine the inconsistencies in our claims or actions or the billions of dollars being leveraged to brainwash us into thinking we want this. We want #climate action now and a #plant-based food system of sustainable fortified kibble. We are not being used. We are truly empowered and full of energy that we are using constructively. We are so empowered and not deceived.
We all share the same values, so we just need to align those values with our actions and join forces. We all want the same thing. We want to see an Earth in the next 50 years.
the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean, if there's something we are not lacking in this world, it's money. And I mean, of course, many people do lack money, but I mean, governments and these people in power, they do not lack money.
What's up, bigots? How's it going out there? How's everybody doing? You guys ready to save the banks, to save the world, and take hashtag climate action now? What kind of climate action are you guys taking today? What's up, everybody? Oh, what's happening, guys? We got a full chat. Everybody's just jumping in right now. Check it out, I'm on time. I think I've been on time for like the last 4 or 5 streams. I've been a good little boy. And I've been a good little global citizen. And I'm here to honor one of the best global citizens out there. Good global citizen brigade, leader of the vegans. His Holiness, the Dalai Gregor. Dr. Gregor, everybody's favorite bobblehead doll. Gesticulating bobblehead doll. That's what's up. We're here to give praises to the great Gregor, the great Gregorium. Here in Dr. Gregorium's Wonder Emporium, we're going to learn all about the carnivore diet. So Dr. Gregor was on London Real. London Real is a YouTube channel. It's kind of like one of these self-help type things. It's run by like a banker guy who's really into business and success, right? Worldly success. And makes a lot of videos about spirituality, right? A lot of these new age gurus on. At one point, he went vegan and did a vegan diet with this guy, John Joseph. I don't know if you guys remember John Joseph. This was over a year ago. I put John Joseph in one of my In one of my compilation videos, John Joseph actually coined the term meat-tards. So meat-tards was a term of endearment here on the Primal Edge Health show for a long time. That is actually thanks to John Joseph. I thought I had that tab pulled up, but I don't. So I'm not gonna go tromping through the mud to try and find this. But let's hear about Dr. Greger's views on a carnivore diet. But first, we're going to take a little look here at Dr. Greger in a video that I made a few months ago. This is actually in May 2019, May 1st, 2019. Of course, these videos always get buried in the algorithm, right? They get buried in the algorithm, they get demonetized. In fact, 3 out of the last 5 live streams I've done have been demonetized. What's cool is, though, when a live stream is demonetized, if it's for a copyright claim or if it's just not suitable for advertisers, which for some reason, the content we put out here, right, speaking out against big pharma, showing you guys the big agenda behind this push by big ag, big pharma, the big banks, to get us on the processed, refined feedlot kibble. Right? They don't like that, apparently. So we do get demonetized, but your super chats are always appreciated. The super chats do still go through. So even when the video gets demonetized, because the channel's not demonetized at this point, we still get them super chats. So thanks everyone for throwing super chats out there. And we had a really awesome stream the other day. I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago. And I'm back now. So let's get going. Let's learn a little bit about Dr. Greger and the history of his career. Oops, no volume. There we go.
Encourage people to diversify their grains, and we encourage them to diversify. Have you ever tried quinoa? Have you ever tried millet? Have you ever tried, there's also amaranth. There's all sorts of grains. Some people haven't even tried. You might even like them better. I don't know, people have explored, people know about rolled oats, people know about steel cut oats, but before they're steel cut, they're oat groats. They actually look like little pieces of rice. There's also rye berries, wheat berries, whole's barley. Actually,
there's just so many indigestible foods you could eat, guys.
And they have a rice-like texture.
Wow!
The shape. So you can get all the goodness of your whole grains, your intact whole grains.
Your intact whole grains. Without worrying about eating anything that's nutritious and digestible.
Everybody wants to ask this one question, and is, what do you eat in a typical day?
Yeah. Oh, well, you don't even have to. You can find out immediately by looking at my free app that I have on iPhone and Android. Free app, Android, iPhone, called Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. So basically, I tried to compile a checklist of all the healthiest of healthy foods and encourage people to fit into their daily routine. So I encourage people to eat whole grains every day. Encourage people to eat beans every day, legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, lentils, and just kind of go through the list: a quarter teaspoon of turmeric, a tablespoon of ground flaxseeds, cruciferous vegetables, the best, beverages to drink, how much exercise to get, just in hopes of inspiring people to fit some of the healthiest of healthy things into one's diet. You can check out your local library, and where I've created a bunch of, with help of Robin Robertson, created a bunch of recipes that incorporate all the different foods, and find ways you can make some yummy ways to prepare them.
All right, to make a big announcement here. Oh, Michael, so good to talk to you.
It is so great to see you.
I'll tell you.
I miss doing the weekends.
Well, you know what? You're going to be invited back.
I can't wait.
I'm so sorry, but you know how technology is, and Gustavo's made his best efforts, and somehow we just got it screwed up. And I just got a new computer. Michael, good to see you.
Good to see you.
What are you doing? Your exercise this morning?
I got my treadmill desk up and running, ready to rock.
Oh my goodness. Hey, listen, I had a few questions I wanted to ask you, and I'm sorry You know, I'm sure Gustavo did a good job asking us some questions initially. And you could correct me on my facts here, but Dr. Greger, and my friend, by the way, for many years, you started out in general medicine, but never really have seen many patients, have you?
No, it was really just my postgraduate medical training. Yeah, I was never in clinical medicine for, longer than that. I went directly to, actually went, as soon as I got out, I started traveling around speaking at medical schools, feeling that, how many people can I treat in a day?
Yeah.
And so it was more important to train the trainers. And so went on the road and talked to other, budding docs. In hopes that they will carry on the torch.
Well, what do you think? Are they doing it?
Well, I mean, you got to go to some of these new conferences. So there's this International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference. I believe it's in Oakland this year. Also, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Conference. These are massive medical conferences. 1,000, plant-based practitioners there. I mean, it's like you wouldn't have dreamed it. I mean, going to a conference and having 1,000 plant-based practitioners, not just in their own lives, but actually using this in their day-to-day practice. It's finally seeing its light of day, something that you've been pushing for decade after decade after decade, banging your head against the wall. It looks like the wall is finally cracking.
Well, it looks my head's pretty lumpy too. Actually, I will be at the October meeting.
Oh,
in
fantastic.
Orlando.
Fantastic. I would encourage people to go. You will just be amazed.
You know why, Michael? I have been honored by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which, by the way, we had a lot to do with founding back in 2004. They're going to give me an honor this October, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm sure you're in line for the next one.
No, my God, I'm just getting started. You deserve it. I cannot wait to see you up on stage.
Well, I will be there. I'm honored. But these organizations really are growing. Which brings me, do you think, I don't know, Michael, you've been involved in the research, nutritionfacts.org. You probably know the science and the methodology better than anybody else that I know. And you're also an old guy like me. Not quite, but you've been around a long time. And you've been through the various phases. You've been through the low-carb phase.
And so, okay, let's move on totally. Someone was asking, why not have a, Dr. Greger Nutrition Facts clinic? We've probably been asked this all the time, why you can't just go see Dr. Greger as a doctor or whatever. So, if you probably have a quick answer to that 1,000 times.
Well, the reason...
Imagine talking to a man. Imagine being a man, talking to another man, like Mike the Vegan talks to Dr. Greger. Right? Imagine another man talking to you like Mike the Vegan talks to Dr. Greger. And imagine being Dr. Greger, eating it up, right? Eating it up as these squirming little soyum bow to his great feet, right? As they kiss his feet. Look at this.
Dr. Greger Nutrition Facts clinic. We've probably been asked this all the time, why you can't just go see Dr. Greger as a doctor.
I love you. Oh, did I say that out loud?
So,
okay.
you probably have a quick answer.
You're probably really hung, right? I'm sorry. It just comes out. Oh, do you ever cuddle with guys?
The reason is because Dr. Greger is treating patients 1 million at a time.
There you go. You heard it from the man's mouth.
I gave up clinical practice because no matter how...
Right from the man's mouth.
little time I gave everybody, how many people can you see in a day?
You started out in general medicine, but never really have seen many patients, have you?
No, it was really just my postgraduate medical training. Yeah, I was never in clinical medicine for Dr. Greger is treating patients 1 million at a time.
There you go. You heard it from the man's mouth.
I gave up.
You heard it right from his mouth. I wonder if he's ever kissed another guy with that mouth.
Practice because no matter how little time I gave everybody, how many people can you see in a day? I was never in clinical medicine. Yeah, I gave up clinical practice because I was never in clinical medicine. No matter how little time I gave everybody, how many people can you see in a day?
Zero. Because you're not a real doctor and you never finished your residency.
that's why. So YouTube, we just hit 100 million video views last week, right? I mean, that's like
all his patience on YouTube, right?
But when
I missed that one-on-one, one-on-one that I never really had, but 100 million YouTube, Slippies, chippies, lentils, plant-based diet, the best diet for health, Take
a step back and try to think of it logically. I'm like, I just can't justify taking that kind of, one-on-one time. Although I do get some of that when I, go around and speak. So my next speaking tour, new book's coming out in December.
All right, new book.
New book. It looks like we have about 250 cities potentially lined up. And then I get that one-on-one time. Book signing lines, and can hang out with people, and that's a nice break from just sitting in front of a screen for years on end.
So it's becoming less and less clear. Ah! Who's that guy? How big was my beard back then? That looks ridiculous. That beard has too much beard. All right, so Dr. Greger never finished his residency, never treated a patient, yet selling the dream, selling that vegan diet dream, selling that plant-based diet dream. Right? Now it's not just vegan, it's plant-based. Right? A little bit of animal fruit every now and then, plant-based. Plant-based. We talked about the plant-based scam last stream. Plant-based is an empty marketing term that basically means nothing. Right? It's an empty marketing term for semi-starvation diets where you're restricting animal foods. Plant-based can be anything, right? I eat a plant-based diet. I actually do. Right? In fact, my diet has been fully plant-based for a long time. Not only is it plant-based, it's a plant-based diet that converts locally produced roughage that we can't eat. It's a plant-based diet that produces meat out of this roughage that we can't even eat. It's actually really amazing. In fact, like we're working on a patent. We're going to see if we can get this properly patented, but we are working on the future of meat here at Primal Edge Health. The future of plant-based ribs. So this is a picture right here of some plant-based ribs. All right, we discovered this way, and we've actually open sourced it. This is a solution that will help you and the world to produce regenerative protein and fat locally in a way that regenerates the soil. And guess what, guys? This uses a self-replicating all-terrain vehicle, a self-replicating ATV bioconvertible that can actually carry huge loads long distances. Right? These things can carry, these ATV bioconverters can carry so much weight long distances without the need for any fuel, any fossil fuels as they call them, right? Which is oil. The fossil fuels is a very, very powerful propaganda tool used to create artificial scarcity. But this requires no petroleum products, no electrical energy, and it just makes healthy, sustainable plant-based ribs from local shrubs, herbs, leaves, grasses. It converts it on site in this regenerative protein and fat-producing bioconverter all-terrain vehicle that can take all those plants and convert local roughage that you can't even eat, that would poison us. It will convert them into edible food, into protein and fat, and into fertilizer with no shipping necessary. All right, so this high-tech device is called a donkey, and it actually produces a lot of really, really flavorful fat and meat that's easily digested. And actually the fat, a lot of people here in Ecuador use the fat medicinally. How cool is that? How cool is that? This little ATV that you can just ride around. It's pretty slow. All it needs to do is forage for herbs and grass in its local environment and water. So this is how we do a plant-based diet here. Right? We convert local plants without needing any shipping. Right? Plants get converted within the valley we live in into edible protein, into edible food. How cool is that? We're stoked on this. So we're looking on getting these high-tech devices, these all-terrain vehicle bioconverters. We're trying to get this this patented. Right? I'm not sure. I haven't looked up if anybody's patented donkeys yet, but maybe we can genetically modify them in order to really get that patent, right? Monsanto style. So the plant-based diet means nothing, right? It's a meaningless, empty term. Of course, Bobblehead Gregor loves this term. Why? Why? It's a wishy-washy term to market malnutrition, right? It's a wishy-washy term to market veganism, to market austerity diets, starvation diets to people who don't want to fully go vegan, who maybe think these vegans are a bunch of crazy dweebs, who maybe think that veganism is completely whack. It's a way to market to them the plant-based diet. It's meaningless. Kai Green's on a plant-based diet. Right? Nate Diaz said he was on a plant-based diet. And he's eating loads of shrimp, loads of fish, eggs. But they call it plant-based. They call it plant-based. So, all right, we got some super chats here. What's up, guys? Let me see. Where'd them super chats go? David, sending $5. Thanks a lot, dude. I know you were here the last stream. Sent a few super chats. He's starting the super chat cascade. David, really appreciate it, man. You didn't have any question. Gene Doe, the second, sending 5. Not euros, pounds. That's pounds. I've learned. Gene Doe, the second. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It's cool to see people over there in the UK where this vegan agenda is being pushed so hard, right? Where this nonsense vegan crap is being pushed so intensely. It's nice to see people out there waking up to this shit and fighting against it. Right? It's really cool to see all these people tossing these what's it called? Extinction Rebellion dudes off the top of these trains that they were blocking normal working class people from going into work. It's nice to see what's going on in the UK with people pushing back against this bullshit. But it's also really alarming to see these terrorists like Earthling Ed, Joey Carbstrong, and that vegan couple having free range all around these countries in Europe, creating all sorts of chaos and havoc, meddling in elections, like Greta Thunberg, which we're going to talk about later. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, all right. We got some people evangelizing evolution in the chat. Get out of here. You get on timeout. Little evolution evangelicals out there spreading this nonsense, dehumanizing false ideology of evolution. Oh, we all evolved from pond scum. We evolved from pond scum in a meaningless, empty, dark universe. Therefore, we must all come together to save the planet from us. Monkeys who grew from pond scum. Alright. So, Dr. Gregor. Plant-based diets. Meaningless term. Plant-based diet. Let's see what Dr. Gregor has to say about carnivore. Right? These carnivores are getting on his nerves. These carnivores are upsetting His Holiness the Dalai Gregor with all their pesky claims that vegans are weak, right? That vegans are sickly looking. Come on. That vegans are just kind of gross and weird, not physically, but in the way that they communicate, the way they interact with people, the way they try to push their bullshit on everybody. Dr. Gregor is pushing back against the carnivore diet. Dr. Gregor, who is a priest of the ancient rite of vasectomy in the anti-human religion of veganism, who wants to help depopulate the planet by getting vasectomies for all you dudes out there. Let's see what he has to say about the carnivore diet over here on London Real.
There's a lot of fad diets going on right now, and I know you didn't want to try to whack them all in each one of the diets. I just wanted to ask you just if you thought about approaching a few of the diets. One, which I know you've been asked about before, but I have to ask you, is the carnivore diet. You know, Dr. Jordan Peterson's on it, and I know him and his daughter feel a lot better. I think there's reasons for that, and some people swear by it. What do you think of what's happening there with the carnivore diet?
So I just swear at it. That was my.
Dr. Gregor. Dude, he's just so funny. He can say one little line. That's all he has to say is one little line. His first line is a zinger.
They seen results.
it's so.
Dr. Greger is like your senile Alzheimer's grandpa yelling at Bill O'Reilly on the TV. Right? He's like your grandpa yelling at Keith Olbermann on the TV all day, stuffing his face full of Slippies, Chippies, and Lentils.
Oh no! So if you have, so it's like people who go gluten-free feel better. So if you had a wheat allergy, and also you go gluten-free and you feel better, it wasn't the gluten; it was because you had a wheat allergy. Or one of the reasons people feel bad about 1 in 200 people who stop eating meat have these negative consequences, and they have a soy allergy. They never knew that. It's about 1 in 200, 250 people have a soybean allergy. You don't even know it because who eats a soybean unless all of a sudden you start eating a veggie burger or something, but all of a sudden they stop eating meat and they feel terrible. Oh, you had an undiagnosed soy allergy. Get rid of the soybeans all of a sudden, then you can...
Soy allergies. Get rid of the soybeans all of a sudden. You're performing better. You're walking on your treadmill 1.5 miles an hour, bobbing your head hypnotically, gesticulating unnecessarily, exaggeratedly. Eating a plant-based diet. Plant-based for the future.
Get the full benefits of not eating meat, but it wasn't the lack of meat that did it. And so if you have a variety of food intolerances, so you cut down, so if instead of a carnivore diet, you have...
So it's because you cut out gluten, and maybe you have a gluten sensitivity, even though he says gluten sensitivity is very, very rare, or you may be the one out of 250 people that has a soy allergy. Well, that's why carnivore works. Or maybe, Dr. Greger, maybe it's because animal foods have everything we need, and you can live exclusively off of animal foods with no supplementation, and you can't do this with plant foods. Maybe what bothers you so much and what has you so flustered, what has you gesticulating like a Tourette's marionette, maybe that cognitive dissonance that crushes you inside every time you push this nonsense is threatened. And you get reminded of it every time you hear these carnivores talking about not eating any of the foods you recommend, eating the complete opposite diet of what you recommend, and getting their life back. Getting their life back. Maybe he's a little bit upset about that.
A sweet potato diet where all you did was eat sweet potatoes, presumably you'd feel just as good because you're cutting out whatever bad thing that was undercutting your health before.
No, Dr. Greger, you would not feel so good on a sweet potato only diet. You will not feel so good on any mono eating diet, mono food diet. You're not going to feel good on an all fruit diet. You're not going to feel good on an all potato diet. You're not going to feel good on any of these. But if you eat all meat, you can digest it. You don't require any fiber. And people are getting their lives back doing this. People are getting their lives back from the malnourishing nonsense diet that you push them onto. People are getting their fertility back. They're getting their health back. They're getting their minds back. But, of course, we should be eating huge indigestible salads, right? We should be going for that ghoulish physique that all these vegans exhibit.
It's basically three things that no one's allergic to: sweet potatoes, tapioca, and water. And so when you do these elimination diets, to find these people with irritable bowel syndrome and trying to find out what exactly they're doing it, put people on water, tapioca, and sweet potatoes, and then slowly add back fruit, add back nuts, add back, grains.
Okay, so Dr. Greger's elimination diet. Sweet potatoes, tapioca, water. Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? This is his refutation of carnivore. This is the tapioca, water, and sweet potatoes. You'll feel better. No cholesterol, no fat. All right, Judas Romo, sending $5. What's up, dude? Thanks for the super chat. You guys, I'm sure, just like the last few streams, this one will surely be demonetized. I'm glad people are actually seeing this, though. We've got a good viewership right now. Keep them super chats coming, guys. If you guys got any questions you want to ask, if you have any suggestions on videos that we should check out, or if you just got something to say, or if you just want to support this channel, which is regularly demonetized, which is regularly hidden in the algorithm, then feel free to send those super chats. They are always appreciated.
And then you find out what all of a sudden does it. So, I mean, so.
Oh, sorry, Judah, I forgot to read your super chat. Judas Romo says, do you think Paul Saladino and Dr. Greger would debate each other? I'm sure Saladino would have a very, very nice exchange with Greger. Would Greger do it? Absolutely not. No way. Dr. Greger cannot directly address any issue, and he cannot ever, for the sake of his career, for the sake of his sanity, he cannot get in a room with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. He could never debate somebody like Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino, some of these other guys. Not that I think having a doctor, having that DR in front of your name, not that I think that going through the brainwash education system and going into years and years worth of debt in order to have those letters before your name, I don't think that that makes you credible. I don't think that that makes you legitimate. In fact, when I hear somebody is a doctor, when I hear somebody is highly educated as a doctor, I know that they spend a lot of their time learning all sorts of bullshit. Right? So I don't think that, saying, oh, look, this doctor says this or this doctor says that, and appealing to these false authorities gets us anywhere. But I think it'd be really interesting to see a legitimately intelligent doctor like Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino. I think it would be very, very interesting to see them debate Dr. Greger, but Greger can't do it. He'd be outclassed. He would look like a buffoon. He would look like a bumbling idiot. And he would look like a ghoul next to either one of those guys I just mentioned. And there are plenty of other doctors in the low-carbohydrate, carnivorous movement, and the keto movement, who would wreck Greger and pick apart every single talking point he's got with his cherry-picked studies, with his exalted epidemiology, and with his wild gesticulations that he thinks somehow help him make a point. And he can't debate any of these people. Right? Now, what he could do if Dr. Greger did want to put himself next to somebody who promotes meat-based eating, he could maybe look good next to Fwanky the Banana Girl, Fwanky the Licker. He could maybe use that, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think Dr. Greger's going to accept any debate with anybody in the low-carbohydrate world, in the carnivore world, but I don't know. We can all dream. We can all wish. Hey, shit, maybe he'll come on my channel and hang out. He did block me on Instagram, though. He did block me on Instagram, so I know he knows where we're at. I know he's maybe seen some of my stuff. I don't know when he blocked me, but he did on Instagram, on one of his profiles. All right.
Presumably, but so by eating meat, you're cutting out swaths of potential allergens and, I mean, things that people...
And that's why they feel better, but in your mind, that's not sustainable in the long run.
Oh my God, you can get... it's a diet you can get scurvy off of. Now that's...
Okay, so you put a little lime juice in there. You can...
If I just laugh, maybe people will think what I said is true. This cackle, this like nervous fake laughter is so funny. All right. Scurvy, the scurvy claim, right? If you guys want to learn a little bit about all meat diets for scurvy, highly suggest, first of all, checking out this study from 1930 on prolonged meat diets with a study of kidney function and ketosis by Walter S. McClellan and UGF Dubois. This was done at the Bellevue Hospital in New York, where two dudes ate an all-meat diet, a strict all-meat diet, under observation in New York, and this was the only study that I know of that's been done on all-meat diets. Now, this is a study that this dude, Stephenson, who wrote this book, Not by Bread Alone, which is a pretty interesting book. I haven't opened this in a little while. I got a lot of notes in here. Essentially, Stephenson lived for about 11 years on an all-meat diet, on an exclusively meat-based diet. Right? He spent over 11 years in Arctic exploration, during 9 years of which he lived almost exclusively on meat. Stimulated by this experience, Stephenson and Anderson, the latter, a member of one of the expeditions, voluntarily agreed to eat nothing but meat for 1 year while they continued their usual activities in the temperate climate of New York. So, they were watched, and these are the results. The results were astonishingly boring. You know why? Because everything was normal. They used beef, lamb, veal, pork, and chicken, muscle, liver, kidney, brain, bone marrow, bacon, and fat, all the parts of the animal that they wanted. Of course, Stephenson has said many times publicly that he doesn't think we got a full-on mutiny in the chat. Hey, stay on topic in the chat, dweebs. You bigots. Stephenson says many times that he doesn't think that you're required to eat organ meats, that you're required to eat these non-muscle meat cuts. He said a lot of it, he just ate muscle meat. So, these are the results of the study. Both men were in good physical condition at the end of the observation. There were no subjective or objective evidences of any loss of physical or mental vigor. The teeth showed no deterioration, and gingivitis had disappeared. There was an increase of tartar on the teeth of VS, of Stephenson. Bowel elimination was undisturbed. So that's an interesting one, the tartar on the teeth, right? That layer, that stuff that gets caked on the teeth. That's an interesting one to look into as far as like what function it actually serves. There are a lot of different theories on what it actually is. Right? It's an interesting thing, but one of the guys had more tartar on his teeth, but gingivitis disappeared. So not only was the diet perfectly healthy and safe, their gingivitis was disappeared. It went away. It went away. All right. There was. All right, let's see. The stools were smaller than usual, well-formed, and had an inoffensive, slightly pungent odor. No flatus was noted. So they did not have the Dr. Greger's daily dozen bowel movements. They did not have the Dr. Greger's flatulence that he's always having to apologize for, right? He's basically, Dr. Greger is like the greatest fart apologist of our age, right? All three subjects lost weight during the first week, right? A little bit of water weight. Blood pressure did not cause any elevation in blood pressure. Let's see. What else here? Mental attitude toward diet. They both were able to maintain it for the whole year. Activity. The men both led somewhat sedentary lives. VS was riding, lecturing, short walks. KS did some riding, walked 3 to 5 miles a day. Their response to muscular exertion was studied 3 times during the early part of the observations. The test consisted of running 2.5 miles in approximately 20 minutes. I'd like to see some of these vegans do that. Just do that. So blood pressure, pulse rate while lying down were made before and after the run were continued until both blood pressure and pulse rate returned to the resting levels. The blood pressure returned to its previous level in 10 to 15 minutes. No significant variation in response to this test was detected after 2 months of the meat diet. So totally fine. Everything was fine. The performance was fine. Intestinal function was fine. Not troubled by constipation more than eating mixed diet. It was small in bulk, well absorbed. In one instance, when protein was too high and fat was too low, diarrhea developed, right? You require enough fat. If you eat too much lean meat, as we know with like the term rabbit starvation, right? You require fat. You got to get enough fat in for eating a carnivorous diet. You can't just eat lean meat. So there you go. The study. The diet's effect on the kidneys. No albumin, blood cells, or CAS were observed at any time. Urea clearance tests, determining the amount of blood cleared of urea per minute based on the urea excreted by the kidneys in the same time. The 2 tests were made at the Rockefeller Institute Hospital. Oh my goodness, they're just everywhere, aren't they? The first test on each subject, made at the end of 1 year on the meat diet, showed an excretion of urea which was above the average for normal men on mixed diets. The second test, at their period of mixed diet, was below the normal range and at low normal for the other. Okay. A decrease in function following a period of hyperfunction has been noted in other conditions. Found no increase in the non-protein content of the blood of our subjects. Okay, they measured their pee. They looked at their pee, they analyzed their blood, and they were fine on an all-meat diet. Right? Whereas if you did an all-plant diet with no supplementation, you would die. You would die on an all-plant diet, no supplementation. All-meat diet, people have been maintaining it long periods of time successfully. Stephenson and Anderson in this test lived for a whole year under observation. But he says, you're going to get scurvy. Get scurvy. If I laugh, it makes it true.
So keep rocking.
Zero fiber diet. Yeah, no. I mean, look, it's the antithesis.
Zero fiber diet, as we talked about many times before. Let's pull up the study again. Stopping or reducing dietary fiber intake reduces constipation and its associated symptoms. We took a bunch of people who had constipation, put them on a zero fiber diet. For no fiber, reduced fiber, and high fiber groups, respectively, symptoms of bloating were present in 0% in no fiber, 31% in reduced fiber, and 100% of high fiber groups. Interesting, huh? So, bowel frequency of those who stopped fiber completely increased from one motion every 3.75 days on average to one motion per day on average. Those with reduced fiber had increased bowel frequency from the mean of one motion per day, one motion per 4.19 days to one motion per 1.19 days on a reduced fiber diet. Those who remained on high fiber continue to have a mean of one motion per 6.83 days. So this is really bad constipation that they were studying in this one. All right, so nobody has ever been shown to get scurvy from a carnivorous diet. The symptoms of scurvy being muscle wasting, neurodegeneration, mania, decrease in morale, decrease in overall feeling good, right? Your teeth fall out, you get all sorts of issues with the breakdown of collagen. What's funny is the actual symptoms of scurvy are rampant in the vegan world. These kids that are getting put on vegan diets, like John Venus's son, like John Venus is doing to his poor kid. A lot of these kids end up getting loads of issues with dental caries. They get issues with deterioration, with improper development. We've seen time and time again parents going to jail for malnourishing their diets or their kids on a vegan diet. But he says scurvy's going to get you, right, which we just debunked.
Of what one would expect for a healthy diet.
Right.
I mean, it's just. I mean, it goes against every. I mean, there's just
But
consensus.
some people are living it.
In the oh my God, some people are. if your counter is, well, some people are doing it, that basically you can defend anything of the
right.
You
think long term they're just going to be dead.
I mean, right. I mean, so it's short term you can do all sorts of right. I mean, you see benefits from immediately you clear out your glycogen stores, you get this nice diuresis, you get this water loss, which helps people kind of stick to the diet.
Okay, so there's where he starts getting super dishonest. When he says a lie or he says something that's completely untrue, he kind of half says it under his breath. He gets some diarrhea, there's a water loss, a little water loss from diarrhea. When you start out on a ketogenic diet, when you start on a low carbohydrate diet, as many people know, you do see a little bit of loss of water weight in the beginning, You see a little bit of water weight loss. Now he tries to say, oh, you're going to get diarrhea? That diarrhea, nobody wants diarrhea, right? I guess except vegans who eat his daily dozen bowel movements diet. Right? So he says it's all just water weight. We got logical links in the chat. He lost almost 100 pounds of so-called water weight, right? I can't tell you how many clients we've worked with over the years who have lost 100 pounds plus of water weight, who've lost 20 pounds of so-called water weight and maintained that fat loss for years. Many of them even coming from your diet, coming from your plant-based Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen malnourishment diet. These people are feeling better. These people are losing weight by pulling out the carbohydrates and focusing on animal fat, right? Not even having to go full carnivore. But he's talking about carnivore here. He says, keto and carnivore create diarrhea, and that's why you're losing weight. Completely dishonest.
Right, if there's something else in your diet that was look, but...
And who knows, maybe 10 years from now there'll be a study, we might be surprised.
What? I'm open to surprises, but yeah, so
okay.
what are...
And what about the keto diet? I mean, I know you didn't want to whack moles, but did you look into that?
I did. Yeah, okay. So I have a whole chapter on the ketogenic diet. Okay. And it turns out when you switch to the ketogenic diet...
Whoa, all right. Whoa, listen to that slurry. Listen to this word salad that just got caught on the soy slick in the back of his mouth. Check this out.
Yeah, so I have a whole chapter on the ketogenic diet. And it turns out when you switch to the ketogenic diet, your body... ketogenic diet. And it turns out when you switch to the ketogenic diet, your body fat loss actually slows down.
Fat loss
actually slows down.
What?
Fat loss actually body ketogenic diets.
Okay.
And it turns out when you switch to a ketogenic diet, your body fat loss actually slows down. And it turns out when you switch to a ketogenic diet, your body fat loss actually slows down.
Brian Rose is looking at this guy like horrified. Like, dude, is this the future that is ahead of me if I go plant-based? Am I going to be speaking, gesticulating, and thinking and looking at me like this guy? Am I going to be looking at the world through eyes like that? Slurring the shit out of all my words?
Start losing lean mass and water weight. And then, of course, long-term. Now,
talks about losing lean mass. This dude can't even speak a coherent sentence with his malnourished body. His tongue is probably so deteriorated. He's lost so much muscle mass, like Logical Link says in the chat, that his tongue is atrophying. His face and his mouth are atrophying.
I mean, I know you didn't want to whack moles, but did you look into that?
I did. Yeah, I have a whole chapter on the ketogenic diets. And it turns out when you switch to a ketogenic diet, your body fat loss actually slows down by about half. And the reason is because you start...
So your fat loss slows down by about half. Where does he pull these facts from? Like, so dishonest. Doesn't tell you what he's even referring to. What the hell ketogenic diet slows down fat loss by half? Why is it that so many people who are not able to lose fat on all these other bullshit fad diets out there start eating enough meat, start eating enough fat and protein, they go on a ketogenic or even a carnivorous diet, and they easily lose weight? Why is that, dude?
Eating up your own protein and start losing lean mass and water weight.
You start eating up your own protein, losing lean mass and water weight. On a ketogenic diet, he says, ketosis is muscle sparing. If you're getting in enough animal foods, if you're on a meat-based diet, this dude's saying you're going to be protein deficient on carnivore. This is his refutation to carnivore. He says you're going to get scurvy. We already know that's bullshit. He says you'd be better on an all sweet potato and tapioca diet, both of those which contain shitloads of oxalate, which a lot of former vegans have calcium oxalate kidney stones from consuming all these oxalate-rich foods that this dude has had to apologize for and backtrack on recommending. He has to say, oh, eat a little less spinach now. There's a shitload of oxalates in sweet potatoes, dude. Not that everybody needs to avoid oxalates, but this is ridiculous. And you're saying that people are going to be protein deficient and lose muscle mass on a carnivore diet. Come on, buddy. Come on.
And then, of course, long-term. Now, we have these, the reason we have long-term ketogenic diets today is where we don't have long-term carnivore.
If I make funny faces like this, it makes me think I'm intelligent, and the person who's listening to me might think I'm actually paying attention to what I'm saying, as I gesticulate wildly with my hands for no reason and make manic faces that make me look crazy as I bob my head around and tell you all about the plant-based diet. Dr. Gregor.
Diet studies is because ketogenic diets are actually used as like a third-line treatment for pediatric epilepsy. Okay. So for intractable epilepsy among children who have these seizure disorders, for which drugs don't help, changing the biochemistry of the brain by putting them on ketogenic diets can actually be life-saving. But we have people but we have studies. Let's see what happens when you have people on a ketogenic diet for 10 years and horrible things happen.
Don't have those horrible things happen. Listen to this nonsense. Listen to this complete dishonesty from this guy. Watch this.
Loss in terms of kidney failure, in terms of nutrient deficiencies, and it's really.
So he names all the symptoms that we see him manifesting. That we see the people who are duped into following his diet. We see all the symptoms that they manifest. Look at this. Got more down likes, more thumbs down than thumbs up. That's funny. But he names all the symptoms of veganism, which is a curable disease. Right? Veganism is a curable disease. It is a disease of affluence. It's a disease of affluence, much like... I got mosquitoes flying all here. Veganism is a disease of affluence, much like gout. Right? You don't see this disease of veganism, this virtue-signaling malnutrition. We don't see this. You don't see this outside of the very affluent Western world, the decadent, godless West that's given up its foundation of morals and ethics for this moral relativist, nonsense, social Darwinist ideology. You don't see people willingly malnourishing themselves, willingly sacrificing the health of themselves and their children like these vegans do. You don't see that anywhere else than the decadent West, where dupes like this get paid to flaunt around their doctor title and sell you on all sorts of bullshit that will destroy you physically and mentally.
Temporary.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, right.
Okay. I know Tim Ferriss went on it, and it helped with some of his Lyme disease symptoms. I know he finds himself really creative on it. I don't know if he's on it long term. Any other diets that kind of came up that were on your radar that you wanted to address in the book?
Well, you know, I'm on the U.S. News and World Report, you know, a diet panel, expert diet panel. And so every year we have to go through the dozens of all the new diets, and, you know, half of which, frankly, I didn't even know of until I have to do research on them because I didn't even heard of them.
Right. Okay.
And, of course, there's no research on them, but I didn't even know what constitutes their diet. So I have to go back and see. And then you can use some of these criteria to be like, well, wait a second. Is it, what would we expect to happen if we actually were to put it to the test? But the fact that there's
notice there's not a single bit of reality. There wasn't a single bit of information in that word salad that this guy spat out for like 5 minutes. It was just, it's really bad, you know, scurvy. And this last little section, he said absolutely nothing. He just said nothing. He's just babbling like a buffoon. You're babbling like a schizophrenic, LARPing, malnourished marionette with Tourette's.
The data. We have enough data right now.
We have the data, the science.
Another experiment need run, right? One diet, only one diet, ever proven, reverse heart disease, majority of patients. That should be the starting point as far as I'm concerned.
And of course he's referring to, what was his name? Dr. Dean Ornish. Swami Dean Ornishananda, who had a religious conversion to veganism, a New Age religious conversion to veganism after hanging out with the Woodstock Guru. The Woodstock Guru who helped spread Hinduism, moral relativism, sex, drugs, rock and roll to the West. The guy who was basically like the foot in the door for what later became a burgeoning and highly destructive New Age movement with these gurus and shills and freaking demons like Osho, right? Like Osho and his polyamory vegetarian cult. Dean Ornish learned about veganism and got into veganism from a New Age conversion by a guy that calls himself a freaking Swami. That's who he's talking about. His studies that have been debunked left, right, up and down in so many different ways, which have never been replicated by anybody else, which was a study that was a holistic lifestyle approach that included a so-called plant-based diet. It wasn't a vegan diet. They still ate animal foods in this diet, right? So much dishonesty, so much misrepresentation here. Very, very, very sketchy. Very sketchy Dr. Bobblehead here. Dr. Gregor, the great gesticulator. You're not making much sense, dude. All right, we got a super chat. Xanavar, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate the support from the super chats, guys. Keep those super chats coming. I need Garland Farms. He started a super chat cascade the other day. All right? So you guys got any questions? Got anything else you want to talk about today? Make sure to send a super chat. Or if you just want to support what we do here, I want to also thank the people who have donated, who have so kindly donated recently via PayPal in the couple months where we were not streaming. That was really, really helpful and useful to keep this going. So we have been regularly demonetized over the last few years. And now, almost every stream I do gets demonetized. Thank you guys so much for the super chat. Xanavar says, about to boil some chicken hearts and flop a New York strip to cook blue rare in the leftover heart oil while I listen to this live on my birthday. Yum. Happy birthday, man or woman. Happy birthday, Xanavar. When you say left, you must have auto-corrected it. You're going to cook that blue rare. That's how I like it. I like it blue rare with a nice crust on top, right? If I've got a nice thick steak, like if I had a nice New York strip that was real thick, it was more than an inch, I would get a pretty good crust on both sides. If it's real thin, I'll get a good crust on one side. The other side, I'll barely touch it to keep it real nice and kind of cold in the middle, right? I like it. I like pulling the steak from the fridge right before I cook it, salt it, rub a little salt onto it, get that pan really, really hot. And that's kind of my strategy there. So glad you're enjoying a good steak on your birthday, man. Polygon sending $1.99. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks, everybody. All righty. Back to Dr. Gregor. Not only did he debunk carnivore in that 5-minute clip, let's see what he has to say about keto and whatnot. We're just going to jump around here because this is a 15-minute video, and who can listen to Dr. Gregor's incoherent babbling punctuated by wild schizophrenic-looking gesticulations of his malnourished, pale, gaunt, ghoulish body. Who can listen to that for more than a few minutes?
True. So I thought, why am I doing this?
Yeah,
And the book a little bit more.
Okay, yeah.
So last year, I had someone sitting in that leather chair. His name was John Joseph. He's the lead singer of the hardcore punk band, the Cro-Mags.
John Joseph.
Been plant-based for 30-some years.
Amazing.
Because he was a Hare Krishna monk back in the day. And he's also done 10 of these Ironman races, which are these really long distance, 12, 13-hour races where you swim and you bike and you run. And so he got in the chair and he was looking at me funny and he said, Brian, I want to challenge you to do a half Ironman. You got 90 days to train. And I was like, you must be crazy, because I had never done endurance training. I mean, I was in okay shape, but I had never done long distance swim or run or anything. And I said, okay, maybe. And then he said, but you're doing it on a plant-based diet. And I was like, what are you doing, John? There's a scene in the movie where he walks in my Airbnb in New York and I'm cooking eggs and bacon and he throws it in the trash and he takes me across the street and I'm drinking smoothies. And he said, Brian, you're going to not get injured. You're going to be a better performance. And I'm 47 years old at the same time. And I didn't believe him, but I like John a lot. And, he...
So this is John's famous comment. Hey, you forgot the beans and peas. Also, way to take everything out of context to push your meat tart agenda. John Joseph. It's funny because I didn't include his name in the description. He wasn't even he wasn't tagged in this at all. This video got hidden, man. This only less than 10,000 views. This video is hilarious. It was a really funny edit. Does he have any videos? No. Just gets on just to comment and call us meat tards. We're meat tards, guys. Thanks to John Joseph. Anyways, back to the task at hand. Thank you, John Joseph, for the comment that is pinned on that video. If you guys want to check out that video, it's actually really funny. It's called Vegan Revolution, Final Solution to the Human Question. The Vegan Ubermensch Rises. It's a pretty funny video. Old school. Was that like a year? Almost 2 years ago. Year and a half ago. Joshua Baker sends $1.99. Thanks, dude. Says, Gregor looking like yellow guy from Sin City. All right.
Really knows his science. He has a great book called Meat is for Pussies, which again really kind of addressed this whole I gotta eat meat as men. Yeah. And I appreciated him writing that book and getting in trouble for the title and all that stuff. Although apparently the publisher was their idea. Anyways, so I started eating plants. I told my wife, she freaked out. You know, she's originally from Bulgaria, where she didn't know anything about plant-based diets, but she adopted and adapted, and all of a sudden she's making black bean quinoa nachos with vegan cheese, and we're rocking and rolling. And,
fake cheese, soy-based vegan cheese, beans and corn chips. Oh man, oh yummy.
I first wasn't eating enough, so I was a little bit calorie deficit. Once I figured,
if you don't eat enough calories, you did it wrong, right? Most people are not eating enough beans, slippies, chippies, lentils. Right? You need more lentils, more slippies, more chippies, according to Dr. Gregor. Dr. Gregor. The Imaginarium of Dr. Gregor.
Figured that out. I had a great experience. I ran the race, and I felt so good that I kept it up for the whole year. So a year I went plant-based. And towards the end of the year, I just asked myself this, Michael. I said, am I doing this because I'm dogmatic, or am I doing this because this feels like the best nutrition? And I have a history of doing things because I'm dogmatic, or doing things until they kill me. Drinking, drugs, being a banker. So it's true. So I thought, what am I doing this? And I introduced some fish back into my diet, and some grass-fed beef, and
so exaggerated.
And I just thought, you know what? I just don't know if it's the right nutrition source for me. Now, I am not doing a lot of that. I still eat a lot of plants, and I'm not eating cheeseburgers all the time.
Great.
But for me, I feel good with this diet, and I've had a lot of people that have been vegan here for 5 years that are actually now starting to experiment with some animal protein. So, what do you think about that?
So that was a really nice way of saying that he felt like shit eating the fake-ass diet that Dr. Gregor recommends, and as soon as he added animal foods in, he felt better. But he's conflicted because he's being brainwashed by all this mainstream propaganda telling him that meat is bad. And he knows a bunch of other people, he's saying, like 5-year vegans who are going back to eating meat and feeling a lot better, right? So he's, in a very nice way, challenging Dr. Gregor's very, very dogmatic and ridiculous position on veganism. Right, this malnourishing diet that is not suitable for any person long-term, for any person, including developing children, especially developing children. A vegan diet is not suitable for people of all ages and stages of life, or people in general. And he did a really nice job And let's see what Dr. Greger has to say, right? First, he was like, yes, not enough calories, right? Let's make excuses already. Oh, not enough calories, not enough whole foods, right? Not enough whole plant foods that are completely indigestible, that just make you shit. Not enough of those, not enough abrasive fiber.
Well, it sounds like you're eating better than 99%.
It sounds like you're eating better than... It's hard to tell sometimes if he's slurring massively or if that's just his enunciation.
Well, it sounds like you're eating better than 99.9% of people out there, right? So that's fantastic.
You're probably right.
I mean, if there was one thing, if you were going to obsessively commit to one thing in your life, rather than alcoholism, I mean, a healthy diet. The number one...
healthy diet. I have a healthy diet. I'm just not 100% plant-based.
Right. Okay, so...
Gregor's always trying to bust out these quick little snippets of like fake motivational. If you're going to do one thing to improve your diet, improve your lifespan, remove meat. And he's always trying to get these like 10-second clips where he gives this, banger statement. But it's never really a banger. Right? It's just like the words just fall limp, like that vegan couple when they saved the animals by going limp for the animals.
So, but you could eat a healthier diet, right? And we could all eat a healthier diet, right? Every time, it's a zero-sum game. Every time we put something in our mouth, there's an opportunity cost. There's a lost opportunity to put something even healthier in your mouth. And this goes for anything, right? You eat a banana, you just had a lost opportunity to eat blueberries, which are healthier than a banana, right?
Oh, blueberries are healthier than a banana. You guys hearing this? You guys hearing this amazing science? Blueberries healthier than a banana.
Right. So you just put one thing on oatmeal or another thing on your oatmeal.
Right.
And so that's why, when you say is X food healthy or not? Is grass-fed beef healthy? Compared to what? Compared to bacon? Absolutely, right? Compared to chickpeas? Nah, that'd be hard, right?
Chickpeas? This guy just said that chickpeas are a better source of nutrition than grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef, which you can live off of exclusively. Chickpeas, if you eat more than a handful of those, you're going to be blasting ass for that daily dozen, right? He calls his diet the daily dozen diet. If you eat more than a handful of chickpeas a day, you're going to be blasting ass a daily dozen times. But no, chickpeas are better than beef, right? Beef, which has every nutrient you need in the most bioavailable, easily digestible form with no abrasive fiber, that's bad. Chickpeas are better. Just such nonsense.
But so everything we eat we should just all try to nudge everything up. And if eating a little bit of animal protein is going to keep you eating all the other wonderful food in your diet, right?
The other wonderful food that you don't need at all in your diet, right? Which I base my whole diet around, right? And I'm trying to constantly apologize for and figure out ways to justify, right? If you just do that and eat mostly chickpeas, slippies, lentils, then you'll, more healthy, Eat more blueberries and bananas. They're healthier,
If just that psychologically, right, saying, I don't want to be one of them, right, and
it's not necessarily that,
or look, I don't want to worry about holidays or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If that on a day-to-day basis keeps you, stuffing your face with all those healthy whole plant foods, it's not what you eat today, or tomorrow, or birthdays, holidays, special occasions. It's what you eat day-to-day for decades from now. What are you going to be in decades? So whatever makes it sustainable for you is the healthiest diet. Okay. So if that includes beef, and if otherwise you would just forget about it, right? So people who go all in, these people do the cold tofu kind of thing, and
What he's doing right now is he's trying to keep he's realizing that this dude's audience is not sold on veganism, right? He's realizing that this guy's not even sold on veganism. How can I sell you my stupid ass book that was ghost written for me by a few college kids? How can I sell you my stupid ass book still, knowing that you're not going to go fully vegan? And this is what you get.
And they're like, wow, I feel so good about myself. But then 6 months later, they're back eating cheeseburgers. Well, then maybe if they would have went slower and figured out how to make it work within their lives, make it convenient, then maybe they would have been doing this. So the 6 months aren't going to help them in the long run, right? So it's really about how knowing your psychology and what's going to keep me in this for the long run, eating as many whole plant foods as possible. And that's really the crux. It's how many whole plant foods are you eating? That if there was one question.
Except, what about all these people who are pulling out all the whole plant foods and focusing on whole animal foods and reversing the damage that they did to their body and mind when eating all plant foods like you recommend? What about those people? Look at that glare. Right, that's the true face of Dr. Greger right there. Right there on his face, we see him wearing his heart on his sleeve. Right. What a great snapshot that is.
And so it's not how much meat you eat.
Right.
How many whole plant foods? Now, if you eat meat, you're kind of displacing, right? There's a certain number of calories and satiety that goes along with that. And so you may end up at the end of the day eating less full. But
so here he admits that eating significant amounts of meat makes you less hungry. If you get the nutrition you need, if you get the fat you need, the protein you need, that meat who's displacing other foods, he's trying to somehow brush over while acknowledging the satiety-inducing effects of eating. Sorry, I'm looking for the dog, making sure he didn't run away. Of eating significant amounts of animal foods. But then he wants to brush it over at the same time while acknowledging it, right? Very sneaky. He's got some funny tactics, Dr. Greger. Slippery little slime ball, isn't he?
In terms of health, it's how many whole plant foods you're eating, full stop. And the primary reason these other foods aren't good is because they may undercut your whole plant food consumption, in addition to whatever else they have bad in them. So yes, some have saturated fat or trans fats or too much sodium or cholesterol, but part of the reason that they're unhealthful comparatively is because it's that bite for bite. It's that substituting one for another. And so if you're gonna eat meat, make it the best meat, right? You're gonna eat cheese, make it.
There he goes. So here comes the sale, right? Here comes Dr. Greger trying to broaden his audience and bring more dummies into buying his shit. Oh, it's fine. He goes on these vegan channels talking about, oh, these people who are no longer vegan, they did it wrong. They were never really vegan. And he talks about vegan for the animals. He is an animal rights activist. Right? Like we talked about in the first video that we showed a clip of today. In the end of this video, we talked about Dr. Greger's connection with all these weird vegan cults. Sometimes I forget how much funny little things there are connected to Dr. Greger. We've got cults, New Age cults. We've also got, where's the feminism stuff? He talks about the need for animal rights activists. I can't find it. But in this video, vegan Dr. Greger embarrassed and exposed by Dr. McDougall. That's a good video. In this, we talk about Dr. Greger, how he gave this speech in front of a group of anti-capitalist protesters. And this speech consisted of him saying, we need to unite with the feminists. We need to unite with all the social justice movements because animal rights is the ultimate social justice global issue that we can push globally in order to force our SJW worldview onto everybody. But here he is talking to somebody who's clearly not buying into the anti-meat bullshit, somebody who's eating meat. Here he is telling this guy, yeah, eat the best meat. Eat the best meat. So now I'm gonna have to find this clip, Dr. Greger. Medical practice. Hospital at all. I think this is very, very interesting. Now, here's some of his videos. Dr. Greger on that weird cult. SupremeMasterTV.com. So Qinghai's cult, apparently one of the most. There's a speech from. Here's Dr. Greger. A speech from Dr. Greger. There's a speech from Dr. Greger, which I'm going to play right now.
Identity and future of the animal liberation movement depends on our ability to unite with other social justice movements, and corporate globalization is the key bridging issue we've been waiting for all of our lives. Feminists.
Corporate globalization is the key issue we've been waiting on all of our lives, right? This vegan revolution, which is a corporate globalization Trojan horse, this vegan movement, which is basically at its core driven by the Fortune 100, by the big banks, by the big NGOs who are pushing this climate crisis narrative, right? Tying now the animal rights narrative into it, Extinction Rebellion, Animal Rebellion, Greta Thunberg, Human Shield, Greta Thunberg. This issue, the vegan issue, for a long time, these people have been talking about tying this in with the other social justice movements, and there you've got it right there. Dr. Greger speaking to the People's Strike, anti-capitalist conversion, right? This fake anti-capitalist movement, right? This controlled opposition movement. Here he was addressing them, telling them we got to get together with all the social justice movements to push our agenda. And corporate globalization is what we've all been waiting for as the excuse, right? So they're evangelizing the corporate globalization talking points constantly, but they think they're fighting against it. Greger probably is hip to what's going on. This guy probably knows a little bit more than the average dumb vegan out there marching, right? He knows the economic factors behind this. He understands the money he gets from his books. He understands a little bit more than some of these vegans do, but he's probably just a useful idiot pumped up on his own pride, right? Pumped up on his own hubris and pride, thinks that he understands all these big global issues in the world, and the plant-based diet is just going to fix it all, right? The plant-based diet is going to fix everything. He might buy into it. I don't know. But there it is. Social justice warrior. His Holiness, the Dalai Greger, worshipped by the vegan masses. Right, the guy that they're constantly referencing. Here he goes. Let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear him be completely self-contradictory and tell us how good grass-fed beef is.
At the expense of really high-end cheeses. People are eating Velveeta and American cheese and they're just like, they don't even taste it. They're like watching TV, eating Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. It's like you're not even enjoying, you're hurting yourself. You're gonna hurt yourself, right? Then you might as well, right, have the best scotch or whatever, right? Then, but that...
And there's that kind of propaganda, NLP type technique to try to get you to associate drinking liquor, right? Drinking scotch. Oh, drink the good scotch, Have a cigarette every once in a while, It's the same as having a steak every once in a while. One cigarette a week, one scotch a week, mostly healthy plant-based diet, mostly starving, And he's completely backtracking. What the hell is this?
Hurting yourself. You're gonna hurt yourself, right? Then you might as well, right, have the best scotch or whatever, right? Then, but that's like the worst of both worlds. It's like you're not even deriving any pleasure from it, right? So
he's like pushes this manic vibe out, and he thinks that if he pushes this like smothering manic energy around him, that everybody's just gonna like submit to it, right? Is he married? Is Dr. Greger? Imagine like Dr. Greger talking to his wife. I want like a hidden cam of some Dr. Greger pillow talk. For plant-based diet, better erections is a game changer, I would love to see Dr. Greger like actually interacting with a real person who he doesn't think he's gonna sell his book to their audience, right? Who he doesn't think worships him, who he doesn't think are dumb enough to believe all of his bullshit. I would love to see a conversation with just Dr. Greger with a normal person, right? Like one of his kids. Does he have kids?
Look, if you're gonna eat chocolate, eat some really good chocolate, and then it's gonna be expensive, and so you're not gonna get a lot of it, and it's gonna be a special occasion, and it's gonna be, and your body can bounce back from intermittent insults. It's kind of the day-to-day stuff that really builds up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So this is the agenda. This is the plant-based diet, right? Complete starvation most of the time, but you get the meat on your birthday. Oh, it's my birthday. The government giving me some meat today. It's my birthday, baby. It's my birthday. I'm going to get an extra dose of meat, and I'm going to wire in via my Neuralink to the web, and I got a free wager for some VR porn. I'm going to schwank it real quick to some VR porn. Then I'm going to eat my one bite of meat I get for the year. All right, this is the like smart grid everything is rationed to you model. These are the people who are pushing this smart grid, the people who are pushing this fourth industrial revolution rhetoric, the people who are pushing this new climate economy and the Green New Deal and the global Green New Deal, the New Deal for nature, right? The people at the World Economic Forum, people like the people behind like the Eat Lancet Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation. These people are pushing the idea of plant-based diets, right? Plant-based. They're not saying vegan, they're saying mostly vegan, plant-based. They're also going to eventually, very, very soon, not just eventually, but very soon, they're going to be pushing the idea of lab-grown meat. Like lab-grown meat is cruelty-free, it's healthier, it's so clean, it's going to save the environment. Right? All of these completely nonsensical pipe dreams. All of these, the real goal of this, right? Let's get down to it. The real goal of this is depopulation. Right? Cutting the people off from their valuable foods, cutting people off from the nutrition that they use to stay alive, from the nutrition that their central nervous system needs to develop properly questioning minds. You require nutrients, you require fats, you require cholesterol. For fertility, you require cholesterol. The real goal of this is to get us herded into these Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 style smart city grids, a coffin apartment where you rent everything, where nothing that you have is owned by you. Right? Just like Ida Auken, that bureaucrat out of Europe. She's from Denmark. The bureaucrat out of Denmark, Ida Auken, talking about, I want a cell phone, but I don't need to own my cell phone. Like, we just rent them. And if the corporations own everything, it will be their responsibility to fix it. And we can be given all of our stuff via social credits by these global corporations who will own everything. And we will eat bug paste. Oh, we don't need to go completely vegan. We can all eat bug paste. Let's eat maggot milk. This is what they're going to sell you on. A mostly vegan diet. But you get some sustainable bug juice every other day in your coffin apartment. You get your cockroach milk. I come get you serving of cockroach milk. You're not going to grow properly. We call it cockroach milk. We have some cockroach milk here from. It's going to be chocolate flavored. Chocolate flavored cockroach milk for your birthday meal. You also get one bite of meat. One bite of lab-grown meat today. Make sure to punch in your time card and make sure to film yourself for 4 hours today like a narcissistic, mentally ill YouTuber and walk around pretending like you're happy and broadcast it on YouTube. Because that's how we want everybody to be in the future. A bunch of mentally ill YouTubers pointing cameras at themselves, eating cockroach milk. How can you eat your cockroach milk if you won't finish your spinach juice?
Now, if I go out and shoot an elk and eat some wild elk, and that's a whole other thing that you can get mad at me about. But are you definitively saying that that is going to hurt me, having that meat, as opposed to having a whole food?
That's absolutely the healthiest. So elk and moose, 2% fat by weight. 2% fat. When you go to the store and it says extra lean, that's like 28% fat. That's the extra lean, right? Okay. 2%. So that is so that's actually what chicken used to be in 1896. 2%. Now,
in 1896, chicken was elk. Little known fact from Dr. Greger. So if it's got less fat, it's healthy suddenly, right? Oh, let's just demonize fat. Like, he's all over the place. He doesn't know what narrative to push. What a dishonest little slime ball. Oh yeah, fat's bad, right? Fat's bad, Dr. Greger. Dude, this fat bad narrative has been debunked from so many different directions that I don't even know where to start with this. All this Ansel Keys demonization of fat that actually was driven by big ag and big pharma. Right, was driven by sugar industry to demonize fat and say, oh, this is causing heart disease. Take away the most valuable food, the only foods you need. Now, let's take those away. Great idea. Great idea. There are what are called essential fatty acids. There are what are called essential amino acids. You can get both of those from meat. You get both of those from animal foods. You don't get either one of those in an easily digestible form from plants. You're not getting a balanced amino acid ratio. Right? All these different amino acids, very different ratios in every single food. This dude's telling you, take a little bit of slippies, take a little bit of chippies, take a little bit of lentils. right? And if you just eat the slippies, the chippies, and the lentils, if you eat enough of them, you'll get this balance of amino acid. That's not how it works. There are so many cofactors that will inhibit the digestion, that will inhibit digestive enzymes. Right? We've got all sorts of anti-nutrients in a lot of these plant-based foods that make it nearly impossible to get a complete amino acid profile and a balanced amino acid profile from plant foods. But you can get them all from animal foods. You can get all of that from animal foods. The most nourishing, nutrient-dense foods you can eat are from animals. And in fact, they're the only foods that you actually need. There are no essential carbohydrates, but there are essential proteins and essential fats. Essential amino acids and essential fatty acids only come from animal foods. And this dude's telling you that fat is bad, but the wild meat's fine because, it doesn't come from a fatty animal. Complete nonsense.
It's 23%, 10 times more fat. And I mean,
Really?
but yeah. So wild-caught game without lead ammunition. That's critically important. If you shoot that elk with lead ammunition, it's a bad thing. But so copper-jacketed, no lead. But yeah, venison. And so there's actually experiments done. Primarily, there's a research team in Australia where they did.
Okay, so there you go, vegans. There's your hero saying eat venison. Where is your Dr. Gregor God now? Where is your Dr. Gregor, His Holiness, the Dalai Gregor? Where is your consistency now? Come on. Come on.
Compared eating wild meat, which is kangaroo there, but that's like their venison.
Right.
Compared to conventional store-bought meat, it's a significantly lower bump in postprandial inflammation after eating, significantly less inflammation in their blood within 4 hours after eating the kangaroo meat compared to conventionally bought meat. Now,
it's funny because there have been so many instances where he completely misrepresents research and straight up lies about the study. I haven't heard of this study on venison, but to say that fat from the meat causes inflammation is completely false and ridiculous. Right? Fatty meat does not cause inflammation. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on this specific study, but I don't know. It's hard to preemptively call bullshit on it. But how many times have we seen Dr. Gregor misrepresent studies? Completely misrepresent and lie about studies. We've seen this many, many times. And if you're in Australia and you're going to try to live off of a meat-only diet, please don't just eat kangaroo meat. That's way too lean. You need fat. Right? Ruminant animals, the more stomachs, the better. They convert inedible shrubs into edible food, into edible protein, into edible fat, which are the only foods we need. Proteins and fats, the only foods we need to eat.
you could argue, why eat anything pro-inflammatory at all? If you instead ate plant foods, you actually would have an anti-inflammatory reaction. Okay, fine.
So complete misinformation right there. Plant foods anti-inflammatory, animal foods inflammatory. Total bullshit. How many inflammatory plant foods there are? You mentioned gluten earlier and gluten sensitivity. What about soy? What about all the omega-6? What about all the polyunsaturated fatty acids that people are taking in on your recommendation, which cause massive amounts of inflammation? And all the soybeans, all the soy oil, all the corn, all the grain, very inflammatory. Very inflammatory. Yet he's going to say, oh, yeah, meat's bad, and the plants are anti-inflammatory. Just complete bullshit. Complete nonsense. But he gets away with it, right? Because he says, oh, yeah, Dr. Gregor, look at the science behind me.
But if you're going to eat meat, that's absolutely the least harmful meat is the wild-caught meat.
Okay, fair enough. I am just not sure. I mean, look, I trust you as a doctor. You know what you're talking about. But also,
how nice he is about it. I'm not sure that you're a legitimate person.
No.
So I'm just trying to listen to my body, and I'm trying to make
Don't trust me. Don't trust. No. We trust the science.
Okay.
Right. I mean,
So there you go. Listen to this. Watch this snakiness right here. Don't trust me. Trust the science, and believe that I'm speaking for the science. You know, don't trust me. Trust the science. I am science. Right? What a slime ball. What a dishonest dude.
Absolutely, the least harmful meat is the wild-caught meat.
Okay, fair enough. I am just not sure. I mean, look, I trust you as a doctor. You know what you're talking about. But also, in the past, doctors have told us to smoke Lucky Strikes, to drink skim milk.
No.
So I'm just trying to listen to my body, and I'm trying to make
Don't trust me. Don't trust. No. We trust the science.
Okay.
Right. I mean, right. And so.
But
and
you're
so
100% certain in your mind.
No. Well, so I mean, so there's studies been done. So I talk about in the introduction to How Not to Die.
Yeah.
This study. That's the question. Well, like, how much is too much? Right. That's an unanswered research question. We don't know. There certainly is an amount that it's like there's no science in the world that says being a social smoker, picking up a few cigarettes at a party once or twice a year is gonna hurt you.
See, here we go. Again, look at this great example. I even used this example earlier, right, of a common propaganda technique. Let's take, for instance, smoking, Let's just try to make the audience associate smoking with eating animal foods real quick. Bullshit. Complete nonsense. Come on, Gregor. Right? There might be a certain part of... Look, a lot of people are real dumb. Let's be honest. There's a big part of the population that will buy into your shit. There's a big part of the population that will buy into the nonsense, lies, LARPing, and degeneracy of all sorts of degenerate dweebs out there. There are all sorts of people who will buy into it. Right? But that doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it true. Just you saying it doesn't make it true, dude.
I mean, there's no science that shows those social smokers have any higher disease rates than people who don't smoke at all.
Okay. So if you're eating a little bit of meat, it's like smoking a little bit. Just a little bit of smoking. Yeah, it's like doing a little bit of heroin. Come on.
Right? Now we can show smoking half pack a day, absolutely, right? Devastating, right? But there's some level at which your body should be able to just repair any DNA damage and, get rid of all that tar. And so it's like, okay, well, what is that level? And so I'm always interested in looking for those particular studies. Probably the best study to come to that was the study looking at Buddhist monks in Far East, where it was nice about these studies is that they live there all the time and they get fed the same food every single day. And they have no access to junk food or external food, so they have a highly controlled diet.
And this is super important because a lot of these studies out there, they ask people what they're eating. They don't even know what they're eating.
Right, or they say, I'm going to put you in this.
So Dr. Gregor, who's always repping the epidemiology, just agreed with him. Just agreed with him passing that, epidemiology, that sucks, right? The food frequency questionnaire. So you can tell that this dude, Brian Rose, has done some research. He's seen some of the critiques on veganism. But listen to how Gregor ignores valid arguments, tries to sweep them under the rug, and then plays these funny little word-twisting games with it.
Always interested in looking for those particular studies. Probably the best study to come to that was the study looking at Buddhist monks in Far East, where it was nice about these studies is that they live there all the time and they get fed.
I got to go back further to the... Let's see.
It's been done. So, I talk about in the introduction to How Not to Die.
Yeah.
Instead ate plant foods, you actually would have an anti-inflammatory reaction. Okay, fine. But if you're going to eat meat, that's absolutely the least harmful meat.
I'm sorry. Imagine sitting there and listening to all this nonsense, and then coming back to him with these questions in such a nice, calm way. I think Rose is doing a pretty good job here. You can tell he sees through his bullshit. You can tell he sees through the nonsense. He tried a vegan diet, felt like shit. But just imagine sitting here while this guy just lie after lie after lie, propaganda twist after propaganda twist, trying to make your audience think that eating meat is like smoking. Just one piece of meat, just like one puff of a cigarette. All of this nonsense. Imagine sitting there patiently listening to this bullshit. I can't believe he published this video. All right, David sends $5. What's up, David? Thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. You guys got anything you guys want to hit on? You guys got any questions? Feel free to send those super chats, or if you just want to support the stream here, always appreciate the support. There's a link, there's a PayPal donation link also below in the description of this video. These videos are almost always demonetized. These videos get hidden in the algorithm, and we always appreciate the help. You guys make it well worth it coming on here and watching these degenerates like Dr. Gregor.
Is the wild caught meat.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just not sure. I mean, look, I trust you as a doctor. You know what you're talking about. But also, in the past, doctors have told us to smoke Lucky Strikes, to drink skim milk.
No.
So I'm just trying to listen to my body, and I'm.
Look, you can't even let this guy get a sentence in. He's like, no, don't finish your sentence. Just let me babble all over you. Just let me spit word salad all over you right now. No.
Don't trust me. Don't trust. No. We trust the science.
So you got kind of annoyed there. You could tell Rose is a little bit annoyed with that interruption. He wanted to finish his damn sentence and ask a real question.
Strikes
yeah.
to drink skim milk.
No.
So I'm just trying to like listen to my body, and I'm trying to make
Don't trust me. Don't trust. No. We trust the science.
Okay.
Right. I mean, right. And so.
But you're 100% certain in your mind.
No. Well, so there's studies been done.
We trust the science. We trust the science. There's studies. There's studies been done.
So, I talk about in the introduction to How Not to Die.
Yeah.
This study. That's the question. Well, like how much.
It's like before the guy even gets his question out, Gregor's already like irritated with it and trying to stomp all over it. Right? Just stop talking. I'll just spit all over it. Just so manic. I don't know. Maybe he gets hyped for the camera. Maybe he thinks this is what people like. I gotta have some fake energy. I gotta act like I'm so happy all the time. Right? But it just comes off as like really weird and creepy and manic.
Much is too much, right? That's an unanswered research question. We don't know. There certainly is an amount that it's like there's no science in the world that says being a social smoker, picking up a few cigarettes at a party once or twice a year is gonna hurt you. I mean, there's no science that shows those social smokers have any higher disease rates than people who don't smoke at all, right? Now we can show smoking a half pack a day, absolutely, right? Devastating, right? But there's some level at which your body should be able to just repair any DNA damage and, get rid of all that tar. And so it's like, okay, well, what is that level? And so I'm always interested in looking for those particular studies. Probably the best study to come to that was the study looking at...
Right. There's a nice little slur here again.
Studies. Probably the best study to come to that was studies. Probably the best study to come to that was always interested in looking for those particular studies. Probably the best study to come to that was the study looking at Buddhist monks in Far East. Where it was nice about these studies is that they live there all the time and they get fed the same food every single day. And they have no access to junk food or external food, so they have highly controlled diet.
This is super important because a lot of these studies out there, they
Who knows?
ask people what they're eating. They don't even know what they're eating.
Right, or they say, "I'm going to put you on this diet, put you on this diet," and there's no, and then if there's no difference, well, did you actually follow the diet? Compliance, critical.
I can't say anything that makes any sense. What?
Important. Even if you provide food, compliance can be miserable in dietary studies. There's these biomarkers you actually tell. I was just scripting a video looking at whole grains, and there's something called alkyl resorcinol, which is something found in the bran layer and basically nowhere else.
He just weaves these words of nonsense. Alcoholciferol in the bran and the grains that actually will reduce your inflammation because we found a study that was in vitro where they injected some into some cells and this was the result. So therefore you should eat shitloads of indigestible grains. He's all over the place and he's not making any points. It's just like this desperate manic attempt to skirt all of reality.
The food supply, so you can measure the blood supply and see if people are actually eating it. And so they gave people whole grains to replace these with and people just took them, throw them out. Because, I mean, there's like half of the people,
people took the whole grains and they threw it out because they don't want to eat that shit, dude. They don't want to eat that shit. If you're going to eat any plant food, it's going to be sugary fruit or starches or like white rice. Right? People in Asia actually understand that white rice is way easier to digest than your brown rice, whole unrefined grain bullshit. They throw away the food during the study because they feel like shit when they eat it, dude. Just like they throw away your book when they realize they've been duped. And they start eating meat again like Brian Rose did and feel 100 times better.
Didn't comply at all. And so when the result, so all that money, all those resources, that entire, all completely useless because they didn't actually comply with the dietary intervention. Okay, so that's why, these kind of studies are nice. Now, this wasn't a randomized study, but there were these two monasteries, and they were one was completely plant-based, and the other one had meat.
Completely plant-based. Plant-based? Again, it means nothing. What is completely plant-based? It means nothing, dude. This isn't a vegan study. It's not even a vegetarian study. When you say plant-based, you can mean anything. Like Nate Diaz is fully 100% plant-based. And he eats fish, shrimp, and shellfish all the time. Dr. Gregor's eyes are like rolling in the back of his head as he channels his soy demons right now. It's like,
Yes, give me the secrets to owning these people's minds. I will brainwash them into complete malnutrition, and I will sell the precious books. I will sell the precious books. How not to die.
Remember correctly, it was like, for men, it was like one serving every 2 days, and for women, it was like one serving every 5 days, or something like that. So not me.
Something like that. I don't even know. I'm just making it up as I go.
Neither group ate, but they seem to differ. Their diets seem to differ, and they live their decades. You know, it's really nice kind of natural experiment that's set up. And so, if you would have came to me and asked, do I think predict what the study results will be? And someone was eating meat, one serving of meat every 3 days, I'm like, there's not going to be any difference. If you would have asked me, I would have predicted that you're not going to see any kind of end, maybe some risk factor stuff. You're not going to see actual, kind of...
the actual kind of a valid point made this entire interview.
End points like, disease risk.
Okay.
With that time, I bet your body can bounce back from that.
Before you saw the movie Game Changers? Because you're eating one burrito in Game Changers and you got your bloods messed up and you can't get an erection.
Yeah, see, he's calling out the bullshit Game Changers. Don't finish your sentence. Let me just stomp and spew plant-based salad from white words all over you now.
All right, but
I
was skeptical that they would be able to see.
Emergency!
And they found remarkable difference. I forget I think it was like
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
And people eating just a few servings a week? That was really surprising. And so that may be too much. But is one serving a week bad? We just don't know. I mean, we don't, the data isn't that granular to really get down there. And ideally, we'd actually have randomized data over long term. To actually put it to the test and prove it. So all we really have is the best available.
It's like as he's speaking, like what's inside of, right? As he's speaking, what do you think's going on? Like inside Dr. Greger. He's like, believe my lies. If I look at you long enough and don't break eye contact, you will be hypnotized enough to believe my bullshit.
Burden disease study. In the UK, the #1 killer of Brits is their diet. Smoking's now #2. And think of all the resources.
See, just how he says these things, but how can you quantify the #1 reason people die is because of their diet? Right? I guess maybe he's saying because heart disease is a big deal. Because heart disease is one of the #1 killers of vegans and vegetarians. I guess he's saying that diet is the reason. So if more Brits are dying from cardiovascular disease than almost any other illness, if that's what's killing them, but also vegans and vegetarians die at the same rates from heart disease, is it their diet that's killing them too? No, because there's no consistency in your message. Of course. There's no need for consistency when you're vegan. You just justify your claims with appeals to Dr. Greger. Right? Just appeal to your own authority, Dr. Greger. We got a super chat here. Chemusp. What's up? Sends $5. Thanks a lot. Says Tristan takes a tablespoon of soy juice before he channels Dr. Greger. Yeah, I got to do a line of soy juice before. I do a line of crystallized soy juice to get myself hyped up and in a manic, schizophrenic state for my Dr. Greger impression. The greatest to do a proper Dr. Greger impression, you have to exude like a lot. It's like this subtle undertone of spite constantly coming at you, and this fear that you're about to be exposed, but an over-aggressive zealousness at stopping the world from exposing you always, right? It's like those people you meet that are about to have a nervous breakdown. It's like right before the full-on nervous breakdown, there's just this insane manicness about it. About these people. There's this really intense vibe of like when they look into your eyes, they're like, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. That's how you do Dr. Greger. You get a little bit of that with some bobblehead and just a whole bunch of speed up your slurs a little bit, a real slimy voice, slide it right down over there underneath the consciousness as you make them think that smoking a cigarette is the same as eating meat. Because, I hate the people that listen to me, and I think they're all stupid because I'm a narcissistic doctor who uses his DR in front of his name to push all sorts of nonsense that's going to fuck people up physically and mentally. You know.
Regulations that go into getting people to quit smoking, right? No, but that's killer number two. Why isn't that same amount of resources being poured into getting people to improve their diet? And there is some, certainly sodium levels have dropped. The best population level experiment in the world was, this public-private partnership. The UK government went to these, the restaurant industry, dropped sodium levels across the board in the playing field, and you saw a dramatic drop in stroke rates, on improvements in blood pressure. Really, it's a success story, what's being done here, but I mean, nothing compared to what really could be done. So number one killer is the British diet, just like number one killer in America, standard America.
But it's such a personal thing that if the government starts to regulate that, it's a different thing if you look at cigarettes, because most people would admit that a cigarette is probably harmful. Now,
but not before.
Right.
And the science was clear at the time when people were saying, smoking in moderation is fine.
Right.
When that's not what the science showed. And we were in a similar situation here, where the science is over here, but the public proclamations are far from it.
Well, and tobacco lobbies didn't help.
And just like the food industry lobbies aren't helping out.
So there you go. And he finishes up by trying to confuse us into thinking that smoking and eating meat are the same damn thing. You can't kill yourself if you're eating meat. There's the end of Dr. Gregor's Imaginarium. The Imaginarium of Dr. Gregorium. And this dude is straight up worshipped in the vegan movement. But, of course, his whole career, his whole message is built on a freaking house of cards. The USA Today published this article: "Let the meat steak hold the shame. Red meat is not bad for you or climate change." And all this propaganda out there about red meat's bad for you and it's causing climate change. We got some of these mainstream outlets, every once in a while, will post the article that gives a decent critique of it. So they actually did a good job to talk about the unreliance, or the reliance rather, on observational studies that these people pushing vegan, vegetarian diets like to use, and talks about how this is poor research, about epidemiology and observational studies suck. Nutritional research is a joke. I mean, nutritional research is essentially a giant scam advertising campaign for big ag and big pharma. That's nutritional research. It's all done out of Harvard by guys like Walter Willett. A lot of this stuff is done in these big universities that are bankrolled by the same Fortune 100 companies and the big banks behind them. These international financiers, right? David Rockefeller, giving massive grants to Harvard over the years. Harvard doing the initial research that helped to bring about the genetic modification revolution, right? The GMO revolution. Harvard was instrumental in putting that out. David Rockefeller has the Center for Latin American Studies at Harvard. So these big institutions are just mouthpieces for the big money interests. And in these big institutions, kids get brainwashed and malnourished during their college career, right? Fed loads of drugs. They get drugged up in these colleges now, taking all sorts of pharmaceutical drugs as well as illegal recreational drugs, where promiscuity is promoted so that you can decrease the birth rates, so that you can detach sexuality from the creation of families, so you can detach sexuality from procreation and make it just for recreation, right? And in these colleges and universities, while you're getting malnourished, living in a dorm room under constant surveillance by your peers, in this psychological breakdown situation that they put you through in these dorm rooms, right? Suddenly thrown into a room, these affluent Western kids get thrown into a room and live with a bunch of people they don't even know. They start policing each other's thoughts and actions. While this is all going on, while they're being socially broken down in the school system, they're also being mentally implanted with all sorts of psychological diseases, like belief in climate change is going to kill us all, right? Like belief in the plant-based diet is going to save us all. All this nonsense that gets pumped into our heads in these universities. It's not just done for no reason. But we do see some pushback, which is great. How going vegan can affect your body and brain. Talked about this one on the last stream a little bit, but lack of B vitamins, lack of iron, lack of calcium. You might feel tired or foggy at first. See, we all know these. We all know these side effects of the vegan diet. Foods may start to taste different, right? Because the vegan foods you're eating taste like shit. And because you're eating a bunch of processed soy, wheat, and corn instead of real foods, yes, they're going to taste different. It's going to taste like shit. Oh, you may be at higher risk of stroke on a vegan diet. Oh my goodness. Well, you also might be at higher risk of some cancers. Oh no, they say you may reduce your risk of some cancers. But guess what? When you have low cholesterol can be an indicator 10 to 15 years before cancer manifests of the development of cancer. Low cholesterol is associated with more neurodegenerative diseases. High cholesterol is associated with longevity. And so of course we get told the opposite. We get told that cholesterol is bad for us. That this biomarker that when you measure centenarians, people who live over 100 years, they all have high cholesterol. We're told cholesterol bad. Bald man bad. Meat man bad. Trust the science. When you actually look into the science, it doesn't say what these people say. It says. Blubbersphere sends 5 Australian, I think that's Australian, it's an A, Australian dollars. Says, well, you know, trust the science. Hashtag meat heals. That's right. Blubbersphere, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Let's see. There's another one from Michael Tulch. Sends 10 Canadian dollars. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the super chat. Always appreciate the super chats and the generous donations that a lot of you guys have made via PayPal. We don't have a Patreon because I don't like the company Patreon. I don't like what they've done to a lot of people. But shit, PayPal's also deplatformed a shitload of people and shut them down too. So I don't know. So we do, if you guys do want to support our work here, feel free to use the link down in the description of the video. Feel free to donate via PayPal. You can become a member. You can become, I think, what's it called? A sponsor. You can donate $5 a month, $10 a month. You can donate a sheep a month. You could buy us a sheep every month if you want. I don't have that option, but that would be cool. All right, but thanks a lot, guys, for the generous donations and the super chats. We always appreciate this. You guys keep these chats alive. You guys keep these live streams afloat. You keep it going. So I'm going to keep going, guys. But the vegan diet is not what it seems. The brain needs animal fat. Georgia Eid. If you guys check out my talk with Georgia Eid, MD, another doctor here. She's a psychologist? Or is it a psychiatrist? I forget. Anyways, she's a pretty clever lady. Pretty damn clever. Understands the importance of animal fats and wrote this really good article on the necessity of animal fats. All whole plant and animal foods naturally contain a mixture of saturated and unsaturated fats. Some plant foods are higher in saturated than animal foods, with coconut oil topping the charts at 90% saturated fat. So when Gregor's telling you fat's bad, is he also going to tell you that coconut oil's bad? This is where you trip up some of these guys, right? Right, like Dr. Gregor says fat's bad. What about coconut oil? What about plant-based fat? Is that not bad? And so the essential fatty acids we need, they're all bad. Cholesterol, which is essential, which is a nutrient that we require, which our brain is made out of it. Our sex steroid hormones are made out of it. We need it, but he says it's bad. Absolute hogwash. That's a bunch of hogwash. All right, I'm going to come over here to the chat. What's going on, guys? We got a bunch of regulars here. What's happening, everybody? Let's see. I saw earlier we had Bobby and Drew were up in the chat. That was cool. Got Drew Morg. Bobby's perspective up in the chat. I don't see them right now. Got logical links. What's up, dudes? How's it going, everybody? All you bigots out there refusing to go plant-based. All you bigots out there refusing to listen to all the good grown-ups on the TV screen. Like Leonardo DiCaprio and Greta Thunberg. How dare you! I should be in school. I should be in school or in a public library, being read books by a man in a mini skirt and makeup who will flash me when he opens his legs. I should be in school. I should be in school learning all about how humans are destroying the planet and how we all need to sterilize ourselves in order to stop the hashtag climate crisis. I should be in school. I shouldn't be here. Climate Crusaders. Wait, get this shit out here. Climate Crusaders. What a terrible design on this website. There it goes. I can't even read the title because this damn website's freaking ads. Climate Crusaders Leo and Greta Thunberg hit it off in California as actor says they've made a commitment to support one another, but Swedish teen admits she still doesn't know how she'll get emission-free across the Atlantic. All right, so Greta, let me give you some advice, sweetheart. Let me give you some advice. Greta, if you want to fly guilt-free across the Atlantic, if you just convince 100 people to go vegan, their lifespan will decrease, their fertility will decrease, they're probably not going to have babies, and they'll die younger, so your carbon footprint will be offset by all the people you helped to end early by convincing them to go vegan. We got Leonardo DiCaprio. He's going to save the day. He posted a message to support for Greta Thunberg online. Leo. Oh, Leo. Look at Leo and Greta. Just two grassroots abused children. Just two grassroots. We got one grown-up abused child and one young abused child telling us all what to do. But this is what's really interesting here. So we got Leo and Greta virtue signaling about how am I going to get across the ocean. Greta had to cancel her trip to South America. How sad. How sad that Greta had to cancel her trip to South America. The Oscar-winning actor, Leo, who's been widely criticized for his use of private jets despite his interest in environmental causes, said it was an honor to speak with a climate activist, posting an image of the two of them together on Friday. In an Instagram post, Leo said he hopes Greta's message is a wake-up call to world leaders, adding that the schoolgirl makes him optimistic about what the future holds. It comes as Greta took to her own social media pages, pledging for help in getting to the United Nations COP25 Climate Change Summit. Because this is what it's all about. It's about setting global policy. It's about global economics, and it's about control of resources, including what they call human resources, us. It's about control of the food supply, control of the people. And that's what the United Nations COP25 Climate Change Summit is about. But what happened? It was supposed to be in Chile. It was supposed to happen over in Chile. In Chile. She had been heading to Chile, but after a location change from Santiago to Madrid, she had traveled half around the world the wrong way. Right, because it wasn't really climate neutral, carbon neutral, whatever they say. Greta, who refuses to travel by plane for environmental reasons, wrote, "Now I need to find a way across the Atlantic in November. If anyone could help me find transport, I would be so grateful." All right, so this is obviously a stunt, right? They know exactly how she's going to travel, right? But this is all about optics. It's all about framing it. So, oh my goodness, how am I going to get over there? Maybe the most green thing, I guess, to do. The media pushing cannibalism, pushing euthanasia, right? Like if we listen to these philanthropists, eugenicists like Bill Gates, close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who killed himself. Bill Gates, all these people, they want to depopulate, right? Human beings are a scourge on the planet. David Attenborough, Richard's his brother. Attenborough says human beings are a cancer on this earth. Right? So these people are openly they're openly promoting war rhetoric against the human population, right? The climate change nonsense rhetoric that they're brainwashing you in these schools as they psychologically break you down. As they're intellectually implanting these mind viruses like the climate crisis, the real narrative is that we're being taught that we're bad and that we need to wage war against ourselves. So, I mean, if you buy into the climate crisis narrative, if you're really consistent, the most sustainable way would be for Greta to, maybe they should get some people to, we can get a group of climate activists who are being gaslit by this insane propaganda into thinking that they're just so bad, that they're just so terrible. They're being gaslit by the media who's telling them that, oh, climate suicides are on the rise, right? Check it out. Do a quick search for climate suicide. As these people are pumping out all this dehumanizing propaganda, telling you how bad you are, telling you how terrible you are, telling you that you're destroying the planet, that you have no future. You've got the media gaslighting you and telling you to have or not to have children in the age of climate change. Sierra magazine, right? These big foundations, these fake environmentalists, talking about climate change and climate suicide. Look, the effects of climate change on suicide rates is Stanford News. Suicides rise with temperature in much of North America. Right, as they're pushing out all this dehumanizing pop music, this Billie Eilish stuff, the pop culture starlets that are paraded around in front of you are constantly self-destructing in a ritualistic manner, right? Constantly being broken down, sexualized, dehumanized, turned into animalistic beasts on stage like Miley Cyrus, right? They're constantly pushing this stuff on us. They're giving you all these images of death and destruction, and they're telling you that life is meaningless. And of course, suicide rates are going up in the West, right? We have a meaningless world, they tell us. They tell us, oh, everything's meaningless. We're all just pond scum that evolved into big pink monkeys. And now we have to save the planet by getting rid of ourselves. Because nothing matters and all reality is subjective and morality is subjective, we must all come together to stop the climate crisis. Look, new study. The Atlantic, right? The Atlantic Council. The Atlantic. Propagandist, internationalist magazine. Climate change may cause 26,000 more U.S. suicides by 2050. These people aren't telling you what's happening. They're telling you what they want you to believe is happening. Right? They're going to tell you that all the refugee crises that are caused by the IMF dictators and austerity measures and destabilization programs that get pushed through these third world countries, through South America, they're going to tell you that these are climate refugees. I heard a reporter the other day try to say that Venezuela's refugee crisis is due to climate change. I'm not making this up. These are what these people are trying to do. These are what they're telling. This is what they're telling us. So I guess, Greta, to go back to Greta. Greta, if you really want to solve the climate crisis, I think the best way would be to take some of these disenchanted youth who think they have no future, who don't want to have kids, who are depressed, who are on pharmaceutical drugs, who are constantly being gaslit by the media to hate themselves and to view themselves as a scourge on the earth. What if we just get a bunch of people to euthanize themselves and then we fill their bloated corpse skins with helium or with some air? We'll just blow up all their skins and create a giant human corpse raft for you to go across the ocean. Right? And you can even you can put a motor on it and you can burn Monsanto corn oil. You can burn Monsanto corn oil because that's so sustainable, right? And pulling oil out of the ground is unsustainable, and using gasoline is unsustainable. But corn oil burning your car, that's so sustainable, right? Because of climate change. Right? So let's make Greta a giant raft full of human corpses, so she can fulfill her destiny and travel back to Europe to meddle in more elections. But why isn't she coming to South America? Why did she change? Why did the COP25 summit change from Chile to Madrid? Why? Oh, look at Leonardo DiCaprio renting a $678 million yacht to watch the World Cup. Such a climate activist. Well, the reason Chile is not going to be hosting the COP25 summit is because these people in Chile are actually protesting against these so-called green austerity measures that get pushed on their countries through the IMF, the UN, and global financiers who elect puppet governments and who erect military dictatorships in Latin America in order to destabilize the nation, crush populist uprisings of people who are fighting against the destruction of their neighborhoods, the destruction of their land, the destruction of their water by these big corporations that fund you, Greta, by these billionaire philanthropists, giant mega corporations and NGOs that are constantly destroying nations and destabilizing them. Chile is dealing with this right now. The people in Chile are protesting against increased gas prices dictated by the UN. They're protesting against the measures that the UN is pushing to stop the so-called #climate crisis. They're out in the streets getting murdered right now. Massive protests in Santiago, Chile against CO2 tax on transport and utilities by UN coerced energy policy. Site of UN organized COP, annual climate and energy trade. An estimated 1 million people were in the streets. Of course, you're not going to hear about this in Western media. You will hear them praising Piñera for his neoliberal policies. But Chile has had to pull out of hosting these international summits, the APEC Trade and COP25 summit, because these anti-government protests against the very policies that they were going there to discuss, against the very policies that Greta is out there astroturfing for. Right? This so-called green revolution has destroyed Chile and Argentina with GMO seeds, with transnational corporations, with the McDonald's, the Starbucks, all these members of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development that fund the hashtag climate crisis movement. These people who fund this have a history of ruining nations in South America, of destabilizing them. And that's what we see right now. All these Chileans are in the streets fighting against these very policies that you're pushing. So nobody wants you in South America, Greta. Nobody wants Greta in South America. You can go meddle in the elections over there in Europe. Right? You can go perform your human shield ritual over there in Europe. But looks like you're not going to be coming down to South America. Ecuador saw a similar protest a month ago. The beginning of October, we had a little October surprise as the president, it wasn't really a surprise, we knew it was coming. The president announced IMF austerity measures, green austerity measures, which were going to more than double the price of fuel that's used to transport goods all around this country that produces fuel, right? That exports oil. They wanted to raise the price of fuel. They raised it from $1.03 to $2.39. And the immediate response from the entire country was they shut it down. They shut down all the streets. They shut down travel and transport in the entire country. Many groups came together and stopped all commerce in this country for 12 days due to the implementation of these austerity measures that are dictated by the IMF, by these global financiers that fund your bullshit, Greta, by your masters. Right? They want to make food more expensive. They want to make fuel more expensive, which is going to make all goods more expensive. And they've been talking about this for a long time. Right? The climate change narrative is not about saving the world. The climate change narrative is not about saving the planet. This whole hashtag climate crisis rhetoric is war propaganda. This is war propaganda against us, mobilizing us for a war against ourselves. It's blatant depopulation eugenics rhetoric. They're normalizing euthanasia, infanticide, and cannibalism. They're telling us that all our healthy food sources are not sustainable. Right? So what it really is, what we're really looking at here is not just people trying to raise taxes. It's incremental implementation of technocratic genocide, slow kill. Weaponized anthropology, weaponized ideology, weaponized Darwinism. That's what we see here. And of course, the people who push this are ignorant to it. They're ignorant to the reality of this global war rhetoric that they're pushing. They don't know what it's being used for. Right? These people in Chile who are out in the streets, look at this. This is a real populist uprising. This isn't the hashtag climate crisis march. These are people getting gunned down in the streets. These are people whose way of life is being taken away from them. These are people who are being made to pay more for all their goods because, oh, it's good for the economy. It's good. The globe's going to heat up if you don't pay more carbon taxes. This is real. This is real life, not a bunch of LARPers like Extinction Rebellion. And their president, Piñera, said, we're at war. Said, we are at war. And he called these people enemy combatants. I think over 20 people have been killed. It's way worse than it was in Ecuador. Chile's got a history of IMF-backed military dictators. And they're protesting against the very policies that this chick, Greta, that this little human shield, Greta, is promoting. Right? People are being kidnapped from their homes in this military dictatorship.
Los pacos acaban de meter a la fuerza a un edificio propiedad privada.
¿Caché que él es mi vecino? O sea, el enfermero de mi consultorio. Enfermero jefe.
Este es el departamento del frente de mi casa.
Snatching people from their homes. Snatching people from their homes. Here's the military in Chile, cruising around at night, having fun. Check this out. Throwing a tortured, maybe even dead person out. I mean, who knows what. Drove by and shoved him out of the back of that van. Wow. Throw a lifeless body out the back of a police van while it's moving to make it look like the victim was injured or killed in an accident. This is what happens when people actually protest the policies that the global elite have enshrined and dogmatized. And they've shut down the country there. The capital has been full of people for a long, long time now. And the military and police gunning people down in the streets. But, you know, this is Extinction Rebellions. This is what Greta promotes. Here's Extinction Rebellion. That's their activism. Let's stand in front of government buildings and cover ourselves with blood in submissive postures while a bunch of dudes in makeup and dresses walk around us and dance like demons. Right? Let's have a bunch of white-faced dudes in dresses with demon makeup on do a ritualistic sacrifice of young people in front of government buildings. This is activism in the West, guys. And this is what happens in Chile. Screams of people being tortured in Baqueirano subway station could be heard through ventilation system. People being tortured in the subways by military and police in a terror regime. But yeah, Greta, that's why the COP25 summit is not going to be happening in Chile. That's what's going on in Chile, guys. So stark contrast. Stark contrast there, huh? There's a video. There was a good video of the military sprayed of these big trucks coming up, these military cars just spraying like a giant, out of a giant fire hose, a bunch of tear gas on all these protesters. But you're told in the West that they're protesting inequality. That's what you're told, right? They spin it with this, oh, this is like a socialist uprising. They just want communism. They want inequality. They're protesting inequality. They want everyone to be equal. They want us all to eat plant-based kebab, right? They're protesting for you, Greta. They're out there protesting for equality. And you know what's best, Greta. You know what's best for these people. You know what's best. Greta knows. But this is how people protest in the West, right? Extinction Rebellion. Dudes in dresses. Walking around. Looking like demons. Doing mock human sacrifices. This is Western protest. Let's do mock human sacrifices in front of government buildings. Look. The Red Brigade, which is named after an Italian terrorist group. Marxist communist terrorists out of Italy.
Sixth mass extinction. The Amazon is burning. The Arctic is melting and burning.
And burning. The Arctic is melting and burning. Right? Just look at this. Dehumanization ritual.
Races with me in anguish.
Producers, and we hope and fully expect that you will be a willing and enthusiastic partner. We are available to assist with tools for convening the People's Assembly and would love to support your efforts.
So, men in dresses with makeup on. This is how you empower yourself in the West. This is how you protest, right? Put makeup on, throw on a dress, and do a mock ritual sacrifice of a bunch of young men and women and kids in front of government buildings.
And it's a mourning. It's a celebration of our unity. It's also a mourning of what has been happening to the earth and to one another.
We want you to act. Justice, right? Empty slogans. No real calls to action, except we want the government to declare a climate emergency. You have to declare a climate emergency. What is that? What is that? What is that, the climate emergency? Why do they want all the governments to declare a so-called climate emergency? Well, remember after 9/11? Sorry, I can't even say that word without getting demonetized. Remember after that thing that happened in 2001? Remember that thing called the Patriot Act? Remember all the wars afterwards? Remember what people were willing to do when they thought they were being attacked? People in America gave up their freedom to travel. They allowed the TSA to sexually assault them at airports. They allowed the right to fly around to be completely stomped on and trampled on. They allowed the Patriot Act to legalize the spying on all of everybody, right? Massive data collection, massive spying. The Department of Homeland Security, which never existed before, they allowed all sorts of stuff to happen because of the emergency, right? The response to the emergency. What we're looking at with this climate crisis rhetoric is they want a global emergency. They want to mobilize everybody in a World War II level global war mobilization of all economies to fight the climate crisis. And of course, what are we told creates the climate crisis? Us. We're told that, Ribeye, come here. Ribeye, hey, come here. Chill out. And Jessica just got home. We're told that we're the enemy, that we're destroying the planet. But it's all our fault.
We have lost connection. So we are here hopefully to remind people of that.
And this is the response to the global emergency, right? The totally real emergency. The planet's dying. And this is what we need to do. Dress up a bunch of men in red dresses with white makeup and have them dance around and do mock human sacrifices. And parade around with occult symbols in our hands. This is what we're going to do. Look, we got a skull with one eye in their hand and that rune in their other hand, doing mock human sacrifices. That's how they're going to save the world. Ridiculous, right? Absolute madness. Right? You know what's funny? The Red Brigades, like I said earlier, the Red Brigades were actually a terrorist group of Marxists. Police in Argentina have arrested a man suspected of being a leader of Italy's militant group, the Red Brigades, and they call themselves the Red Brigade. They've added rebel, it seems. Now they're Red Rebel Brigade. But if you really want to understand what's going on, if you really want to understand the real agenda, you're not going to get told what's coming down the pipeline from listening to the little mouthpieces and the human shields like Greta, right? Where you're going to figure out You figure some of this stuff out, and you can see where they're actually pushing this stuff, as if you follow some of these big foundations, these big NGOs, you follow the big money. Rockefeller Foundation, constantly talking about giving reliable electricity to millions of people, right? This is about control over power, control over electricity, control over the manufacturing of goods, especially food. And the Rockefeller Foundation is very, very interesting in controlling power grids, in controlling food production, and in decreasing the human population. And I say, if you follow people like, or follow on Twitter like the Rockefeller Foundation or the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, which is a group of international corporations coming together to push for policy of things like a plant-based diet. Just launched. New CEO guide to food system transformation for high-level executives to understand the urgency to act to address the climate, nature, and food emergency. So these are the people who really run things. People who run these big Fortune 100 corporations. The people behind the big international banks. Then you look at who they follow, who the World Business Council for Sustainable Development follows. You're going to see a sea of blue check marks, of highly paid people, and of organizations like the UN Climate Action Summit. Because remember, this is a global threat, so we need global solutions, i.e. a global government. What a surprise. Right? So you take a look at who follows this or who follows them. You're going to see people like, let's see, Gunhild Stortelen, who helped start the EAT Forum and to push for plant-based diet worldwide. You're going to see things like the Ford Foundation, Tavistock Institute, World Resources Institute. It's almost like the world is run by a bunch of degenerate eugenicists. Wow. It's almost like what I've been saying for decades, for like 15 years now. It's almost like it's true. My goodness. Look at that beautiful picture with her butterfly-covered eye. That is so cute. So esoteric, bro. World Resources Institute, climate change, energy, food, forest, water, cities, the ocean, governance, finance, business, economics. The World Resources Institute was started by the MacArthur Foundation, right? The MacArthur Foundation started the World Resource Institute. What do they want? Carbon neutral land sector by 2040. It's possible. These people are creating a giant scam system, new economic system globally that they want to use to tax the shit out of all resources, to make everything expensive, to ultimately control all resources, decrease human population, and create what they call a solid state economy, zero growth economy, a global totalitarian technocratic dictatorship, a global eco-fascist, eco-communist regime where everybody is paying for all goods digitally and where everybody's malnourished on a kibble diet. The sea level's rising, which has been debunked 1,000 different ways. Sea level in different places changes. Right? There are some places where the sea level will go up, other places where it goes down. People are manipulating data to push us into a state of agitation, of fear, of trepidation, and of submission to this agenda. See, look, houses, offices, and other buildings are responsible for 40% of GHG emissions. However, building new developments, however sustainable, can be less efficient than modernizing existing ones. This is about economic overhaul. It's about money. It's about control. So Gunhild Stortelen got the Ford Foundation. They built the Ford Center for Social Justice in New York recently. These big foundations talking about justice. What is justice? They want equality. What is equality? Everybody eating Monsanto. Everybody gets free vaccines. Shit, sign me up. I'll take 3. Right? Everybody wired in. Everybody equal. Everybody can have Neuralink. Got the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations. Big player in the brainwashing of the whole planet in mass media. We're looking into the history of Tavistock. Very, very interesting. It's that book by Daniel Estelin, wrote a good book about Tavistock. We've got the Club of Rome. If you check out the previous chat that I did with Jay Dyer called Clubbing for the Climate. We talked all about the Club of Rome, the book, The First Global Revolution. If you want to understand what's really behind this climate crisis war rhetoric and this fake global warming bullshit scare, I know there's some people that are triggered in there who think that global warming is real, right? Because the TV told you so. Because the scientists told you so. You want to learn a little bit about the roots of this, look into that book, right? Watch that stream where Jay and I read some passages from it. It's called Clubbing for the Climate. Check out that stream with Jay Dyer and myself. Shout out to Jay Dyer. He does a really good job at documenting and demonstrating the worldview of these people that are pushing this rhetoric on us, this global war rhetoric of the climate crisis. The Club of Rome, big players in that. Big players. You got the IMF. Want economic inclusion. What does that mean? Everybody has what they call sustainable debt to the IMF. Sustainable debt. This is how they're going to fix the world, guys. Giving you debt, taking your resources, and rationing them to you to create the utopia. Right? The IMF, who love destabilizing nations and propping up puppet dictator military terror regimes all over Latin America, are going to save Latin America by giving them loans and putting them into debt. Global Citizen is another one to follow. Remember, Leonardo DiCaprio spoke at the Global Citizen Festival. Right. And of course, we're back to the Atlantic. Climate change may cause 26,000 more U.S. suicides by 2050. As we gaslight people into a state of terror, as we terrorize you with mass media, as we terrorize you and modify your weather technologically like we've been doing for over 15 years now, heavily in the U.S. and in much of the world and in most NATO countries. As we modify your weather openly, we're going to tell you that it's your fault that the climate is changing. That is your fault. And then we're going to tell you, oh, hey, you know, euthanasia might be a good idea, eating grandma might be a good idea, eating babies might be a good idea. Oh, shoot. Maybe if we all willingly had a nice, gentle euthanasia, it would just be so good, right? Oh, suicides are going up. Suicides are going up. There's total gaslighting. Absolute insanity. With this dehumanizing propaganda. All right, we've been going for 2.5 hours. What's going on in the chat, guys? What's going on, guys? What's happening in the chat? Let's see if we got any super chats. Where's that cascade of super chats? We need Garland Farms to come over here and start a super chat competition. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a competition of who can send the awesomest super chat. All right, you guys got any questions? You guys want to hit on anything else? If not, I'm gonna start wrapping it up. Let's see. Got a bunch of people watching. What's up, everybody? Got a bunch of people watching. Stingy crowd today. All right, so you guys don't have any questions? We're going to have to wrap this up. We didn't even get to talk about Kai Green. I'll have to do another stream. Maybe I'll do a stream tomorrow about Kai Green. I've got tentatively planned another stream tomorrow. I might do it with... All right, so there's a guy, he's a vegan vegetarian. He's an author, and he wrote a book debunking the ethical veganism claims. But he's also a total dupe and buys into a lot of this other nonsense, right? The depopulation stuff, all this crazy rhetoric. So I'm not sure if I'm going to actually talk to him. I'm thinking about it, but I'm gonna collect my thoughts. And tomorrow, I think I'm going to do a stream either with a guest or without a guest. If it's with a guest, it's going to turn in. I don't want to just pick the guy apart or anything, or have an unexpected debate for him, but. We'll see. Tomorrow I might have to stream and talk about Kai Green. Kai Green's been on a plant-based diet for, I think, like a week now, and he's already got an ebook telling everybody. He's got an ebook telling everybody that doing a plant-based diet is great. You're going to build a bunch of muscle on a plant-based diet. We got some triggered vegans in the chat. You go on timeout. David sends $5. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate that, dude. Appreciate that super chat. If you guys got any questions, we can touch on those. We can do a little Q&A if you want, but I'm not seeing any super chats anymore, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. Go hang out with the family. Kai Green, you're next. You're coming up next. We got John and Leo Penis. They have also made some funny statements lately. I think we might have to talk about them and touch on that a little bit. We've got all sorts of madness happening in the world these days, and we're going to keep covering it here. We're going to keep giving you guys the truth about what's going down. And yeah, so Bobblehead Gregor occupied most of the time. We didn't even get to Kai Green. But next time, we'll get to Kai. So everybody out there, remember, you're way more than what you eat. It's not just about what you eat. You're not going to find enlightenment through diet. You're going to find enlightenment through some bullshit new age nonsense. If you allow your worldview to be formed by the television, by mass media, by the military, industrial, NGO, education, pharmaceutical, agricultural complex, if you allow yourself to be molded by them, if you allow your worldview to be broken, and you allow yourself to believe all sorts of nonsense, then you can be manipulated, you can be duped, you could be dominated. All right? But we do need nutrition. There are certain nutritional building blocks that are very, very important. All right? Real nutrition comes from animals. Real food comes from animals. Real edible, digestible protein and fat comes from animals. You can live exclusively off of animal foods and thrive. But you can't do that with plant foods. All right, so if you guys want to support, check out the Carnivore Cookbook. Got the Carnivore Cookbook at primaledgehealth.com. There's a link in the description down below to the website. Check out the Carnivore Cookbook for people who really love animals. The next Keto and Carnivore Collective, our group coaching, is going to start in 2 weeks. I think it's starting on the 17th. So we got 2 weeks to sign up for the next Keto and Carnivore Collective. Our group coaching, we do it in a private forum where we got 2 live interactive voice chats. Sorry, a stack of papers falling over. There's 2 live interactive voice chats per week. One of them's a lesson. One of them's a Q&A. We just did a lesson this morning. This is the last week of the current Keto and Carnivore Collective. Really stoked on this one. A lot of people making progress. A lot of people doing it for fat loss. And we've got a few ex-vegans. It seems like every single group we get several ex-vegans. Every once in a while we'll do a sponsorship of some ex-vegans too. So follow us on Instagram. We're going to do some competitions to do some sponsorships for the next Keto and Carnivore Collective group coaching. Definitely recommend that over private coaching. You know, I still do private consultations, but I prefer to shuttle people over to the Keto and Carnivore Collective because you get more interaction, right? Rather than just like one Skype meeting per month. With the Keto and Carnivore Collective, we do 2 meetings per week. You get full access to your coaches in a private forum, and you get to support each other. So that's really cool. Check that out. Link down in the description below, and plenty more streams to come. But, you know.
Like to raise the sense of urgency around climate change.
What ups, reflections? I am not a bigot. I am ready to save the planet by doing exactly what the big banks tell the TV screens to tell us to do. I feel so empowered on my #vegan journey. Join us as we chant empty slogans for #climate action written by PR firms. We need to save the earth and demand a global totalitarian technocratic government run by big finance and the Fortune 100. Our house is on fire and we need the nice grown-up government to take everyone's land and resources and ration us delicious, sustainable, nutrient-fortified vegan kibble. This is an emergency. Mommy Earth is crying so sad because she wants the mean grown-ups to give poor little 16-year-old human shield Greta her future back.
Do you have anything to add to these debates about just, in particular, the idea that it's kind of too expensive to deal with climate change?
I mean, the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean...
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicides and was working alone. Veganism is desirable and fun and make me smile big happy on my insides. I do not hate children. I am not a science denier. I do like science. To fix the #climate crisis we need to sterilize ourselves, starve ourselves, eat babies and grandma and move to a social engineered #smart city to save the earth. There is no time to examine the inconsistencies in our claims or actions or the billions of dollars being leveraged to brainwash us into thinking we want this. We want #climate action now and a #plant-based food system of sustainable fortified kibble. We are not being used. We are truly empowered and full of energy that we are using constructively. We are so empowered and not deceived.
We all share the same values, so we just need to align those values with our actions and join forces. We all want the same thing. We want to see an Earth in the next 50 years.
The money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean,